the phone with a not really a client, but I was helping out a friend's friend who she's basically like deciding to take the fucking journey, the unknown.
Yeah.
So helping her really kind of formulate that plan and her find her superpower to do that, the power to actually like go create
Take
this
action.
traction.
Yeah, that you got to breaking free of that gravity, right? Of what was.
Man. So I'm like, her lease is up in 90 days. I'm like, all right, I want a 90-day plan from you. How are you going to do this? What day you leaving? What do you need to get done in between that? What are all these things? What are all your plans for it all? And so now, no matter how depressed she gets or lost she gets along the way,
you got a map.
She's got a map. So
now with that, are you building in like wellness practice as well? Or is this just a simply like,
this was
get shit done list?
Yeah, this was just a get like what shit you need to get done so you can like take action in 90 days. And she's not a client of mine, so I'm not having her do like anything else. I just like I said, a friend of mine reached out to me like, hey, can you help out my friend in need? And so I just like chatted with her an hour. I had the opportunity, so I'm like, dude, I would do this for free. People just pay me,
Yeah,
so like,
dude, I get it.
Yeah, I love
I get
all
it,
this
especially
stuff.
once you kind of, man, once you can taste the recipe that you like, holy shit, like this is your path. Like, and it doesn't require magic. You just need to show up and give a shit and be a bit uncomfortable and learn to be okay in that. 'Cause growth happens from the other side.
Yeah, that's really all. That's really all it is. And I told her, like one of the main things I try to tell her is that like, let me just promise you, like, I did not see my life here 5 years ago. I
No
didn't see
way.
this. I told her I didn't even see an ounce of this a year ago. I was desperate for a breakthrough in my life last year, to be honest with you. I was like, I just did this big podcast show. Like I started to blow up. And I was just like, man, I don't know what to do. I'm still like struggling. Like, how do I earn money? Like, what's my impact? Why am I here? What am I doing? But that's the price you pay for anything great in your life, right? Any breakthrough is just beyond the fucking confines of your comfort zone. And, if I plenty of times I wanted to stop my life, but if I fucking did, I never would have got to where I'm at today. And where I'm at today isn't my end state, but it ain't where I was at last month. It wasn't where I was at fucking a week and a half, any of these timelines that don't exist anymore. So, I always remind myself that, and I don't know, it's crazy, dude. And I try to tell him like, hey, dude, you're gonna die just like me, bro. Like we're all gonna die, and but we can walk this journey together. You don't have to walk my journey, but we can like walk this alongside of each other. Like, hey, people that are just choosing to like invest in themselves and like fucking take this like long unknown journey, right, to like self-discovery and like what their true power is, why they're really here, why this chick had a bunch of crazy trauma happen to her life at a young age. And I'm like, I know you don't see it, but that was a gift, because the person you have to become to not let that hold you back anymore, that's a superpower in itself. And that alone is going to be someone else's salvation out there. That's going to inspire someone to be like, fuck, I don't have to kill myself. And like, now you get to be that person. You get to be that person right now that gets to change someone's life. And
that's how, you serve that energy that's in you to the next person, right? Is like seeing that change compound through people. And fuck 'em, man. Look, it's taking accountability to be the type of person that you want to see the rest of the world be. Diving straight in, I've been rolling, and so we'll just have a rolling start. I love everything about the vocabulary, the things you let slip there, right? Like you said, I'm not on that timeline anymore. This, willingness to walk into the unknown. And then you brought up where you were 5 years ago. Talk to me about that. Like, what started this for you?
So I retired. I was like 2016. I came back from my last deployment from Iraq. I was so done with the military. At this point in time, I was in 13 and a half years. So I had essentially 6.5 years left to fulfill a 20-year, ideal commitment of hitting a 20-year retirement. And I came back from this deployment, and I I was so done with it. I dealt with so much bureaucracy, so much people out for themselves, red tape. It's war, and I'm dealing with all this stupid stuff. And when I say I'm dealing with it, like I'm witnessing all the dumb shit that I'm dealing with, encountering, here to support the men and women that I'm responsible for, right? That our units, our leadership's responsible for, and I just had such a bad taste in my mouth. And I came back and I'm like, fuck, I just need a break. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, I'm going to our schoolhouse. I was going to take like a desk job for a bit. And I'm like, sick. I'm going to start doing me. Like, I'm going to start like, I've been putting my shit off for a long time. Like, I can't be living my life like this. So I started to like, okay, hey, you know what? I need to get my sleep fixed. And I've had bad ADHD, but I wasn't diagnosed yet. So I'm like, I'm gonna start pursuing these things. I wanted Adderall.
Do we have to be diagnosed anymore at this point? Like, fuck.
Back then, dude, I wanted Adderall, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to cure me. And so I
Sure.
wanted, and I wanted my sleep fixed. No matter how much I slept, I was always tired. No matter the amount of caffeine I had, I was always tired. Um, I'm like, this is not like right. So I go to this, our, um, traumatic brain injury clinic. And long story short, I started to pull the strings on like my mental health and my wellness and my cognitive state. And it came to the point where I was told like, hey, what if I told you you couldn't be in the military anymore? And I was like thrown off. Like my vision for myself was the military. Like even at 13 and a half years in, even disgruntled, I loved my job. I just did not like the people that I worked with. The system
Sure.
is a system. I don't like systems. Um, but I like the people, right? Because the people are what make everything. The systems is what destroys everything. So uh, I started to pull the string on mental health and wellness, and I realized, holy shit, I'm pretty jacked up. Like there was a lot of things I've been putting off for so many years, and for whatever reason, a lot of it out of fear, a lot of it out of like, well, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity for a school or this selection, so I'll just wait because I don't want them to find anything wrong with me and disqualify me. Um, and
Are you
fast
talking about
forward,
like what disqualifications would like?
so like 6 years prior to this, I was submitted a package to try out for a tier one unit, and my doctor at the time was like, hey, because I was putting in for a package for the brain clinic also. I had a gap in my training. I'm like, hey, I want to go get checked out. I was also spending my time for this package that was coming up for the selection process. And he's like, hey, if I submit, if you go to the brain clinic and they find anything wrong with you, it could affect your chances to go to selection. I'm like, you know what, screw that. I'll just wait. No, I mean he's right. He was absolutely right. It could affect me.
Yeah, yeah. What he's saying is true. I
And
just
I'm
think it's a
just
real
like,
fucking bummer, right? That's the system we work in, is that if you're honest and try to get help, you eliminate yourself from a future job and more alienation and all the other things. And so I get in that community why people don't get help.
mm.
People asking for help is saying something's fucking wrong. And if something's fucking wrong, you're in a job that requires life or death situations.
I mean, but at the same time, too, I see the other side of like, it's a bummer that I didn't see the value of myself to realize, like, hey, at this point in my career, I had like 10 years left in the Marine Corps. If I was to do 20 years, and like, why am I not worth it to maybe pause everything now, make sure I'm good to go for the long haul? I did not see things that way. So I see both sides of it. And especially when it comes to like brain health and cognitive function, because I was dealing with testosterone issues at the time. That's when I originally got put on hormone therapy.
Okay.
Shit, 2012 time frame, right? I'm, however many years old I am, and I'm like, I should not be on these things. And so I'm already having all these telltale signs, but I just kept on putting it off for deployments, for opportunities, because it wasn't that bad yet. The pain wasn't that bad. Well, at
Yeah,
this point in my
right.
life, 2013, the pain is terrifying. Like I'm drilling on myself now. I'm falling off my motorcycles. I love to go fast. Speed terrified me. I was having uncontrollable adrenaline surges. I was getting lost in my own house. I was late to work all the time. I remember going to this very specialized course and I was late to it like 5 times. And I'm a senior guy and like just a bad example for leadership and for myself. And it was horrible. But I was late because I'd end up down my street halfway and I'd just start crying because I didn't know how I got there and I'd get lost. And this is something I've been on this base now for like, I don't know, 8+ years. Like I shouldn't be getting lost. And so a lot of these
No.
like, yeah, a lot of these things were like happening to me that were all new. And I was completely unprepared to face these and deal with them. And so I found myself on a medical board Fast forward, I found myself with like 30 days left in the Marine Corps, and I'm like, holy shit, my whole life's about to change. And at this time, I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to become. I had all the help in the world to like, hey, what jobs do you want? You know, we'll set you up with a recruiter. We'll set you up with some type of like, resume writer. And I'm just like spitting shit out. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. If you had a gun to my head, I could not formulate a sentence. All I knew is I wanted no stress in my life. And this is obviously a very
Mhm.
condensed story of it all, but you asked how it started. It started by hitting my rock bottom, and what I thought was my rock bottom. That's when I lost my entire identity because for 15 and a half years at this point, I consumed myself with a job that I was doing. I labeled myself as a job, and the vision for my future, the vision for myself, did not exist outside of that uniform. And I thought I was a good dude at my job. I thought I did my job well. I thought I was a good representation of what people would expect from an organization I came from, but that was it. And to be faced with this like door at the end of that tunnel, I'm like, I'm scared of my shadow. I have zero fucking confidence in myself, like zero. Um,
Just outside of the universe, and not outside universe, but outside of that uniform and the role, and where
Even
your
in the
confidence
uniform, I
lies.
started to lose my confidence big time. As I started to go downhill further and further and further, more diagnosis, and you know the deal. Once you start pulling a string on something, you start to
Yeah.
unravel everything. And I started to pull the string. I'm like, holy shit, my whole life is falling apart. Well, I was committed to getting better as much as I could because this is my life. I wanted to live. I wanted to survive. Um, but I was struggling really hard, and so I found myself retiring in 2018, and that's when my wife and we like sold all of our shit, moved into a van because I realized I needed no stress. I mean, I was a super senior special operator going around my command to my boss, be like, "Hey, man, I need no responsibility. I need no stress in my life," and that was tough in itself. Standing up for myself while active duty was extremely difficult. Everyone's worried about your security clearance. Everyone's worried about this and that, and I was just like, "No, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, fuck all that. Like." I've seen enough guys kill themselves in this job and they're replaced overnight. I've seen enough guys retire and they're replaced overnight. I've seen enough guys get fired and they're replaced overnight. Like, no one cares about me as much as I care about myself. And I know that sounds conceited in a way, but dude, I cared a lot about me.
Well,
I
you
cared
have
about
to be
my
your own
family,
best
my
advocate, right?
future. Yeah, you have to. And, there's a lot of like, suck it up. Everyone's in pain. Everyone's suffering. But these dudes were like not trying to change their life. And, I realized when I started to stand up for myself, I realized that it triggered so many people. I lost a lot of friends. People started to like question me if I was malingering, if it was really that bad. Like I would be sleeping, I would fall asleep on the floor at our headquarters building and wake up at like 7:30 at nighttime on a Friday. No one's there. Who am I there to impress or to like showcase to that? Hey, I slept on the floor till 7:30 at nighttime on a Friday. Like nobody. Like I had no one to like to front with, and these are the things I was dealing with, and so I felt very like alone in like my own community that I've like sacrificed for and like did all these things for, and I wasn't in regret with anything, but I just realized that what, okay, I see where I stand. Luckily, I had a command at the time. Once I got past like some lower levels of leadership, I was able to like they're very supportive and they really helped me get all the help that I needed. Wherever I really wanted, they helped support that. And but I found myself being a civilian in September 2018, lost, didn't know anything, uh, trying to hold it together with band-aids, trying to keep a straight face, but realizing that, dude, I'm fucked up like a football bat. And that's when I really
Yeah.
started this journey of like figuring out who I am. Um, but just like I told you about this young lady I was talking to before we hopped on this call, trying to help her, like, yo, dog, the journey is the process. The process is the journey. The unknown is the salvation. The salvation is in the fucking things that you're avoiding to do. It's that discomfort. And I kind of felt this back in the day, 5 years ago, but I couldn't see it. But I
Yeah.
just knew that I had to do something different, and I knew that uh, what was meant for me was not going to come easy. And so I really started this journey of like figuring out who I am and what am I about.
Yeah. I think the awareness journey is such a valuable part of anyone's life. And we're not really prepared for it when it comes, whether that comes with a brush mortality or the loss of a big identity, a career, or relationship, whatever you kind of pictured or had this expectation of what the future looks like, and then realize the universe doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
It changes a lot. And so as you started diving into your own awareness there, right, which is kind of what I feel like you're describing as pulling the thread. Like that's really being able to take a hard look at yourself and an honest look at yourself without judgment of like, yo, I got some shit to fix.
Yeah, I knew I had a lot of shit to fix, a lot. But luckily, I had about like 6 months before I retired where I went on a nonprofit retreat while I was active duty. I was seeking medical help. I was talking to a counselor. I was um, doing practices that were taboo to me before that I was open to now because I was desperate for change. And
Mm.
so I was already trying to like sharing like what I was doing because my main mission towards the end of my career was to let people know like, hell, dog, you can get help. You can get your sleep fixed and still keep your clearance. You can still do this and still deploy. You can still do all these things because I was living proof of it. I remember them like redoing my security clearance, and I had a top high notch clearance at the time, and I'm on a medical board. I'm on my way out, and they're still renewing my stuff because I haven't been finalized yet. So like I was able to disprove a lot of the telltale the C stories of like, oh, you can't do this because you're gonna lose this benefit, and none of that happened to me. Did I retire?
Okay.
Did I get out early? Absolutely. So that kind of set me on this trajectory of like being this like sacrificial lamb of like using myself as like this test bed of like, this is what's going on in my life, and I didn't know anything. I used to think I knew everything. I used to think I was a hero. I used to think I was on top of the world. But now I'm drilling on myself, and now I'm pretty lost, and I'm kind of terrified. I'm holding it together day at a time, but I have absolutely no clue who I am, what I'm doing, or where I'm going. I just know that I ain't staying here, and that
That
really
when
set.
that veil gets dropped, that realization of like, I thought I had some shit figured out, and then you realize like, oops,
Yeah, I realize I
very
do nothing.
little of what I believe was real exist is a big change, man. I know, for me, going through injury and loss of sport and everything else, and then, concerns with chronic pain sent me down the path to try everything because I was desperate. And like what you said, right? Like all this shit you would have wrote off in the past. Now you're open to it because fuck it, we got to try something. What did you try and find out that made big differences and impacts for you?
I'd say like the number one thing that made the a lot of things made a big impact. Um, but the first thing was like the realization of my truth, like where I was at, like acknowledging the fact that okay, I need help. That was step one of everything. Um, Step two was really reflection, right? I got into journaling. I've been journaling for 5 years now, and I heard about it. I tried it in the beginning, and it was like weird because I'm trying to do it like all these different ways, and I felt pressure, and I felt like it was a job and a task, and I felt like I had to do it like within the structure thing. And I'm very anti-structure, believe it or not. People are like, you came from the military. I'm like, I thrived in the military because I did not do structure because I was different. Um, and I was part of an organization that thrived on thinking outside the box and operating outside the black and white lines. So it's kind of like a natural talent. Like guys like us, we're seeking towards an environment like that. So I just kind of carry that onto this world, and journaling absolutely transformed my life because it gave me an ability to speak truth to myself and like transfer all the jumbly bumblies inside my head and like look at it on a sheet of paper and be like, fuck, I got a lot of shit to work on. But it also gave me a map. It also gave me like, okay, I'm really fucked up with this. And this is like the loudest voice in my head right now. I'm gonna make it my focus for tomorrow to like address this. And then I'm gonna address it the next day. And then I'm gonna address it the next day until it's not the biggest, loudest voice anymore. Then I'll go to the next loudest voice anymore. And it really gave me this ability to like kind of see my journey because it's really easy to get trapped in my head. I was looking at all these other special operation guys that got out. They're like crushing it. They're all contractors. They're all making bank. They're all in college. They're all doing these crazy things. And I'm like, I fell in this like comparison world. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not healed. I'm not where I'm supposed to be at. And journaling really showed me like, bitch, you're where you're supposed to be at. You're doing these things that
Mm-hmm.
you said you're never going to do, and you're clearly doing them now. So let's just ride this train out and see what happens.
Now, what a
Uh,
really hard transition it is to make from living with an expectation of how things are supposed to be to being living through intention.
Yeah, and then living in that van, it really caused me to reflect, dude. I'm on the road we try to drive at least like 6 hours a day, no more, because we had dogs with us, and so I'm
Do you have
driving.
directions in place, or you're just on the move?
I had no plan. My wife and I had no plans, no destination. The only thing we had was so like we had to be out of our apartment like October 1st or something like that, and so we had everything packed in the van, and all I had was the hard date like October 25th. I was doing supporting a nonprofit event at the end of the month. That was my only hard thing I had for the next 5 years. And so we traveled out that way, and so we just did some stops around that to make this timeline. So we hit that deadline of being in this location, and but that was the only plan that we had. After that, and even before that, was no plan. We had, dude, I didn't do any map study. I didn't do no route studies. I didn't know anything. I didn't care. I
Where
and
did
it
you
was
guys start out from?
We started from North Carolina.
Okay.
So I
So
was
everything
in
you own, you've moved into a van. What's our van look like?
it was a 2017 Dodge ProMaster. It was a 172 or 170-inch wheelbase, so it's the medium sized van.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, oh my god, because once we decided we're gonna get a van, that was a whole nother can of worms, right? I'm like, oh, I want the Sprinter because the Sprinter's sexy, right? The Sprinter is like the pinnacle
Yeah,
van,
man.
and I'm like, but I need diesel, I need 4-wheel drive, and so I'm
I
like,
need, I
this
need, I need.
research, I need, right? No, I just needed to take action. And so we found this really killer deal on this ProMaster. And what I liked about the Dodge is this front wheel drive. It's about 6 feet wide, and so I could lay width of the van. Where
Oh, you could
ProMaster,
sleep east to west.
yeah, in ProMasters you had to have the pop up or sleep north to south, and which
Mhm.
takes up a lot of real estate. And so that was really fun, and I'm just like, man, this is cool, and I'm like, you know what, it might not be the ideal thing, that sexy, $200,000 Mercedes Sprinter, that's super Gucci'd out, but it's a start. So I always had dreams
Yeah.
like, hey, in a few years we'll get this dream van. But it was great. It had hot water, had a shower that I ended up taking out. So we did about like 3 months in the van, 2.5, 3 months in the van initially. Then we came back home. We bought the van from Delaware. We came back home to North Carolina. That's where my in-laws live. We gutted it all. We're like, let's remodel it. So we are just in there long enough because we bought it already built from
Right.
this van factory, or this like van construction place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what we like, this is what we don't like. So we took it back to them, and we basically remodeled the whole thing, and we made it to our specifications, what we liked, what we wanted. So we ditched the shower because that's a lot of real estate. We ditched the big toilet
Oh, see,
because
yeah, the shower thing's one of those that we've got a van plan built out, and like I never cared about a shower, and then I borrowed a friend's van for about a year, and it had a shower in it. And I realized like it's a good place to store stuff. It's also great to piss in the middle of the night. That you can also piss in it while you're driving. Like there's a ton of use of the shower that I found super useful that I didn't have to piss in a bottle.
so we because our toilet was in the shower originally. We
Mhm.
used the shower once, but we also didn't have hot water back then. So like we used the
Makes
shower
sense.
once. We did use the shower for a lot of storage. But one thing about that, then I had to move all my Pelican cases, all my bags out of there. And one thing that I didn't want was stress. And the van wasn't really just a point A to point B. It was going to be our home for the next predetermined
Hmm.
time, undetermined amount of time. So we wanted it as like homey HGTV as possible because I needed peace. That was my main focus.
Yeah,
And once we got rid of that, I'm like, where am I gonna poop at? The woods, the side of the road,
the
Walmart's
woods.
at
It's
three
not a
o'clock
big
in the
deal.
morning. I pee in bottles, right? We had like my greens bottle had like a this big tub. We'd use that. So like, and then we shower. I had a water connection at the back that we just hook up a hose and shower. Plus we had a what do you call that gym? The purple gym? What is that gym?
Planet Fitness
We
or
had
a
a
24-hour, either
$20
one.
Planet Fitness membership, so we would shower there. We'd work out and shower, use the bathroom there. So like, and there's those things are everywhere, especially along the East Coast or the West, heading out west. And
Hmm.
so we just we did our like studies. And we're like, hey, this makes way more sense. We rather have more storage and more openness, especially with two dogs,
Yeah,
than
if we're
that.
gonna see the gym every day and a half anyway, and there's a
Yeah.
shower, I don't need a shower.
And we lived in a van, bro. We would go weeks without showering sometimes, and
Yeah,
like I
right,
was
right,
totally cool
right.
with that, right? Like, uh, we're it's It's funny. We still have the sheets. My wife were like, "What is?" She's like, today. She was like, "What does it feel like to sleep on clean sheets?" I'm like, "I missed the dirty van sheets." She's like, "Well, these are the van sheets, and they're kind of like stained. They're like kind of brown, you
Yeah.
know. But they're clean." It's just funny because some of the best sleep I've ever had in my life, bro, was inside that van. It was just.
But dude, that van ended up being this escape pod for you, right? Like, I mean,
It was
without
like
that van,
I equated it
where
to
are
like my
you?
Matrix spaceship. It was my vessel to free myself. It was like everything I needed and everything I owned was inside my van. I go across the border. I had everything I needed, my passports, my documents, all this stuff. Um, if I needed to pick up and go somewhere, I just turn my vehicle on and I drive. Like it was like the simplest, most craziest setup ever, and it just made the most sense. And yeah, dude, that was the best decision we ever made. And this is like right when van life was starting off, becoming popular, which is great because we were looking at like a G wagon. I was like, I'll use all my money that we have, and we're gonna buy a 1980 G wagon. Like because like safari looking, and we were gonna like put a tin on top. But like, I'm glad we didn't do that because that would have
Yeah.
been super condensed space, and we probably wouldn't have been on the road as long as we were. Um, but the van, it's a home, man. You can like, it was great.
Yeah,
We
it's
pull
a
up
totally
anywhere.
different vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
pull up to.
mostly have done the truck tent type thing, and it's got its own great benefits, but it's not the same as being in the van and like just move to the front and drive away from fucking wherever you slept. It's the best.
Yeah,
So,
it's super
like
best.
after your career ends, right? And now you've made this move. Yeah, how much of that solitude is really what you needed to just allow yourself to heal and get bored and slow down?
I mean, there was a lot of suffering and pain in that van, right? I wasn't instantly happy. I was
No.
happier. I found most of my time just like getting high and making music on GarageBand inside the van. I'd be in the most beautiful places, and I just wanted to sit inside the van. I rejected
Mm.
nature when I got out. The very thing that I needed in my life, I rejected it. And we'd be in these most beautiful places, and I would just be inside the van, just like making music. In my head, I was filming and I was taking a lot of pictures. So I'm always like editing and shit like that. And nature and life is outside my doors. I'm looking at like these insane like landscapes. And I'm just like in my little
Yeah.
cocoon. Um, because I was a victim. I was a victim just in a new vessel now. Right. I left the military victim. I felt hurt. I felt lost. I felt unheard, unseen. And then I get into the van and I kind of feel the same way, reflecting back on all of it. But I needed that state of discomfort to realize, holy crap, the only way to change this is to keep on facing it. The only way to change this is to acknowledge it. The only way to change this is to keep on going. And that van did that. And then I started to slowly
Well, what
open up.
what brought you to that conclusion? Because I mean, so many people never fucking take that step of accountability for it.
I had no responsibility. I had no obligations to anybody. I was working for a company. I was interning with a company before I retired from the military, and they offered me a job. It was like $1,600 a month. They're like, "Hey, you can do it on the road," and I just needed to like design some shirts and like edit some like social media posts. And they told me, and I was so excited. I'm like, "Man, I'm gonna be able to pay for some things on the road." And I'm like, "It's not gonna take that much time." And I said yes. And then like 12 hours later, I called them like, "Hey, I can't do this."
Yeah.
And because I needed nothing. I do it time and time again. I saw the guys before me, right? Because the military's a meat grinder. It's a system, just like any other corporate job, any other system or
Well,
hierarchy, right?
look, you're a
You
temporary investment.
you see the conveyor belt, and they hate their job. They hate their job. They hate the people. Then these guys, they become civilian contractors for the same place they hated, and they just end up recycling back through the environment. I'm like, what are you doing? And I didn't want to be that
Yeah.
person. Uh, and so I had no obligations. I just had the van. So inside this like mental prison that I created, I was able to like, okay, just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And since I kept on changing these environments up, my perspectives changed. My new experiences changed, and I just never stopped. And that's how I kind of came to that conclusion of like, man, this is what I needed, but I never would have got there if I moved into the van for like 20 days and I took a job somewhere. I didn't
No,
know
it's
who
not long
Cody
enough.
Alford was. That's why we moved into the van. I didn't know who I was. I had no belief system. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I wasn't leaving that fucking van until I found those things. I didn't like, I'm staying here until I find it all. But I knew that I needed to go there and I needed to seek discomfort to stand a chance to remotely find those things. Because I knew it was in me, but I didn't really believe it at the time. Like I said, I had no real belief in myself, no belief external of myself. And that van, dude, was just so powerful. Believing in myself was so powerful. Taking action was so powerful. A lot of people talk a lot of shit. I was just really grateful to have a supportive wife who was down for the journey. And
Yo, no doubt.
grateful for like my medical benefit to provide that lifestyle. I mean, dude, we lived off of like $2,200 a month, and I don't care who you are, like you can go make $2,200 a month. It is not that hard, right? But we make things hard in our lives, and I was very fortunate. I don't
Well,
feel bad.
especially if we're from a culture that the only thing we've ever been sold as success in our entire lives is more. It's more house, it's more things, it's more this. And if we're
And I
told that that's the route that only brings you happiness, and so much of that is based on someone else's fucking idea of the thing I'm doing and not mine, it's
Yeah,
weird.
and I had all those things, dude. I had the big house. I had like all the items. I had four motorcycles. I had two classic vehicles. But I sold those things as they were like sacrifices. I sacrificed those things, these materialistic possessions, these dream things that and even they were identities. Everyone knew me as like the guy
Mhm.
with the classic
Oh,
truck. Everyone was like,
yeah,
oh,
dude,
Cody,
it's a fucking weird one, right?
you're the guy with the classic truck. You're the guy with that sick ass fucking Dyna. I had a clubbed out Dyna. I Dude, I was a cool dude, man. Like I had cool friends, I had a cool life. I was a rock star. You know, coming from that coming from that lifestyle, dude, you're a fucking rock star because I lived fast, I worked hard as fuck, and I did crazy things that most people couldn't fucking fathom. And that doesn't make me
Sure.
better than people. But when I'm hanging around other men and women that are living that lifestyle, dude, you can't not help but to feel like a rock star. You cannot help to feel like you're invincible. You cannot help to feel like dude, there's nothing that you can't accomplish.
Oh, I fucking
Because
bet.
yeah, I mean, look at you, right? Like, we are who we hang out with. And I hung around with hitters. I hung around with like dudes. They might have had shitty, fucked up personal lives, but when it came to work, dude, even the
Yeah,
crappiest
it's
one was
tough
the big
to
Marine
it's
Corps
tough to
best
put
one.
that big correlation, right? Of like how much that environment to the people you're around, like being around those hitters at work really shaped you in that environment. And then on the backside of that, now going into that unknown wilderness of figuring out who the fuck Cody is, having to redecide like, yo, who are the motherfuckers I've got to be around as my next direction post?
Yeah, I didn't have those people when I got out.
No, same. I had the same boat, man. Whenever I left sports, I got really lucky to get introduced to some rad people that ended up being way bigger mentors to me than I'm sure they realized. But yeah, it wasn't until I was able to really let go of my bullshit of it's supposed to go this way and I felt like I deserved X, Y, and Z and just started leaning into trying stuff that it all changed.
So you said deserve. I
Mhm.
I was that guy. I would like I felt entitled as fuck. I fell into this like
You and
victim.
everyone else before a fucking major life change.
I felt so I was a fucking combat vet. I fucking done all these things. I sacrificed all these things. Like I don't want to do nothing. I didn't want to be cold. I didn't want to be wet. I didn't want to be miserable. All the things that forged me to the man I was, I didn't want to do those anymore. I wanted an
Weird.
easy, comfortable life. I wanted to be worshipped. I wanted to be fucking just loved and cared for without any form of fucking sacrifice or dedication.
I mean,
Because
is that at the time what you would describe as success?
no, that was just straight being a victim. I
Well,
wanted
sure,
such a
right,
decent
but
life
it
that
was
has
it not based on this idea that, yeah, I've done my fucking time and I deserve this success plate that's supposed to come at the end of this fucking work of like, I get to fucking chill.
yeah, I definitely that's it. I don't think that anyone owed me like you were supposed to like bend out the red carpet for me, but I definitely like I just want to chill life. I've worked hard. I don't want to do anything. I deserve this. And that's that victim. That's that trap. And that's why I'd be in these places, and I'm just like doing nothing. I'm like, hey, you're at this like beautiful like ancient civilization place never seen anywhere. Never one's ever seen this, and I'm in my van on my computer,
Yeah.
just grateful, sad little boy, and but I knew it. I knew inside though I was self destructing. Luckily, because my wife is
Yeah.
strong, she'd be like, "Hey, come out, let's go do this." I'm like, "I don't want to do it. I want to sit here. The conditions aren't ideal." Like,
But I want to do nothing and get high.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's all I wanted to do.
Fucking distract, whether it's fucking weed or porn or fucking sex or whatever the thing is that I'll pretend is the distraction at the house, at the hand that can keep me from having to deal with whatever.
Oh yeah, and there wasn't the porn because I don't always have internet, and there wasn't sex because I definitely wasn't someone you wanted to fuck. I wasn't
Right.
someone you wanted to be intimate with. I was toxic, and I was hurtful, and I was rude, and I hated myself. And I'm a very powerful person, and I mean that in like the most like grateful way. Like I know when I walk in the room, and now I walk into a room, and people are like, holy fuck, dude! Like people are looking because I believe in myself. That's the same way I
Mm-hmm.
was when I was in the military. I also know when I walk into a room and I'm being a little bitch, and I'm being toxic, and being negative, and I'm being like victim. I know I can ruin everyone's day just by my appearance,
Yeah.
just by my aura that I put off. So I know I'm powerful. If I know I can ruin
Right.
everyone's day by just having my RBF, and I know I can change the whole day by just smiling and being confident in myself,
Yeah.
then I started to add two and two together. I'm like, okay, bro, we got a lot of we got a lot of work to do. Um, but to me, that's the opportunity of like losing yourself. That's the opportunity of like, creating space
To get lost.
to get lost because you can't repeat the same thing expecting different results. You know?
No, no, it doesn't fucking work that way. The same way it works in the gym or fucking anywhere else, right? And like, luckily, most of the men I deal with have a physical culture in their life and kind of can understand that, like, that's how plateaus go, right? Like, you're doing the same shit. You need a new stimulus. If you don't have a new stimulus, we're not going to adapt to what we want to be. And it took me a little while to realize, like, oh fuck, the same rules apply to confidence, the same rules apply to empathy, the same rules apply to all these things. Like, unless I can look in the darkness where I'm the most insecure about those thoughts, like, I'm not going to be able to own them. Otherwise I keep just not looking over there, and that's creating a control on its own of what I can and can't do.
Oh yeah.
um when did nature start showing up and click to get you out of that transition of just sitting there and kind of moping?
Probably like when I dove into like plant medicine, like when I dove into psychedelics, that's really when it started opening me up to like nature.
So how
It
how
was,
long are you into van life and kind of on your journey before you
well,
dive that?
bro, like 45 days into like my stuff, I'm like on my first like 5 gram trip.
Oh, right
And
on.
yeah, so like I was open. I was so open. I was desperate, I was like, oh, this is gonna cure me. But I was like, I felt so called to do it. It magically appeared in my life. It all worked out, and I like take my first journey in the woods, uh, by myself. Maybe my wife's in the van, and I just like set my little chair, get my journal, I wrote down all these things, and I'm like all my intentions, no expectations, but intentions. And
Hmm.
I'm like just absolutely brutally honest with myself. Like everything that I want to work on in my life, everything that is important for me to address in my life, everything from being a better husband to the erectile dysfunction I was dealing with, like from, the lack of confidence in myself, the lack of belief that I don't have. Everything that was like just pounding inside me, I wrote it down. And I came out of this trip and I'm like, fuck, I'm cured. I'm so happy. I have no depression. I have no anxiety. I feel like I'm fucking free. I'm so limitless. But when I told you, like, I just want to sit in my van and feel sorry for myself, that was after this trip. Because
Hmm.
one thing I did not learn about plant medicine was that I did not do the work.
Right, you didn't integrate.
I did the journey. I'm doing all this by myself. There's no playbook. There's no fucking
Yeah,
podcast.
look, man, I got lucky to have a few Sherpas, right? Like, whenever I dove into plant medicine, like about that time, right, I got super fucking lucky, man. I had the greatest goddamn group of Sherpas ever for it. Um, I'm in Louisiana at the time and my shit's fucked up. And so like the first time I try mushrooms is probably like 3 grams. And it's the first time in years that I noticed like my actual pain level at a 0. And I was in a good mood and I felt so much love for the people that were around me and my life and all this. And man, I just remember like thinking about it and being like, holy shit, this is fascinating. And then 2, I was told this would ruin my fucking life. Yeah, how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you, right? And then at that moment, that means all the doors are blown off. I've already proven something that I thought was going to fucking ruin my life, did nothing but bring me a benefit. So at that point, like any information that someone else is telling me about a thing, fuck you, I need to know myself.
Right. Yeah,
I'll
I'm definitely.
experience it and deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, that's how I am with it. I mean, if all the answers are
Um,
solidified, what's the point of living?
how long prior to that do you think like you would have thought completely different about mushrooms or plant medicine?
I was open to it while I was active duty. Like
Okay.
my during my medical board, because I was diving into like I had severe like cognitive impairment from all these TBIs. So I was already looking into. That's when I was introduced to breath work, heart rate variability training. I was into meditation. I was already into like all sorts of like different modalities that I was exposed to before, but I didn't really believe in it because the pain wasn't bad enough. And
Sure.
so I was doing brain treatment down in Florida, and we were talking about plant medicine, psilocybin, and they're talking about like how like hey, if you were to do it and we were to hook you up to this machine, like we can see how your brain is just like firing on like all cylinders, and it really is planting the seed of like this hope. So I couldn't wait to get out and to like come across it to like start this journey. To because it helps stimulate these neural highways in your fucking brain, and any blockages that we have is because there's blockages here, right? And this, a nerve issue in your leg can be caused from something in here. Like
Hmm.
it's all
Well, it
connected. And
runs the
this,
whole machine.
yeah, this is my mega CPU. So like I'm clearly invested into like my brain and how my brain works and like what part of my brain's not working. And so I was already sold. I just needed to wait, not for the right time, but I just needed to wait till I got out. And I truly believe that just like how my military career worked out, it literally unfolded exactly how it was supposed to, from all my pains, my traumas, and my successes, to even getting out and retiring early. I'm so grateful, dude. I would still be in today if I did not. I would just actually now be retiring. Uh,
Mm.
and to have 4.5 years of a head start on my life, bro, let me just tell you something. Gratitude fills my heart. Um, I'm just so lucky, especially because there's a lot of my friends that are now getting out that we all came in with together, or I met along my journey, and they get to watch me for 5 years. Probably triggered the shit out of them. I've inspired some of them, but like now they know that like they can change their life because they're all getting out lost what they want to
Yeah.
do. They're open to all these different things now, and I'm glad that hopefully I was able to be a part of that. It makes all the pain worth it. It makes this sacrifice more worth it because it's not just about me and I have to like deal with it all myself. I can inspire someone else to want to seek change in their life. Um, but I did this first trip and I didn't do any of the work. I wasn't investing in myself even more. I'm like, I'm good to go. So like after like 60 days, all these great things wore off and I was back to where I was at before and I got depressed. And so I'm really trialing by fire. Like I
Fuck,
didn't
that
know.
didn't fix me.
Yeah, and I did not take shrooms to like, oh, I'm gonna be fixed. I never had that. My very first trip uh, revealed a lot of truths in my life that really planted some seeds for where I'm at today. Like a lot of hard things like this is where I'm supposed to be at. It's all part of the plan. Um, but I'll never know if I stop. But I
Hmm.
didn't know it didn't tell me like, hey, make sure you fucking journal every day after this. Make sure you
No,
do
right.
breath. Hey, make sure you keep on addressing those things that are keeping you down in life and getting rid of your vices and believing in yourself. And it didn't tell me that. It
Nah,
painted
man,
this
if you don't
picture
keep
of
the
like,
fucking lights focused on them, dude, they're gonna come back.
oh yeah,
I try to, I guess the way I describe that feeling, right, is like the moment before like real awareness starts building in me, in my life. Like I consider that like my base self. And so like what I describe that as is like that's the me that's built on all of the experiences and place I grew up and the people I was around and what their feelings were toward money, toward relationships and intimacy and athletics and pursuit or whatever it is, right? Like even religion, whether I was turned on to it or turned off by it, it still came from living in South Louisiana growing up. I wasn't exposed to a Muslim culture growing up or Hindu or any of this. So I know very little about those things at that time. And so that base self that is just built on the information that was kind of provided to you where your soul dropped in on earth, I guess is how I describe it. The moment of awareness then is me being able to look at all that and say, those things aren't actually me. It's those experiences that have shaped me this way. And so if I now start choosing the experiences and I start choosing the habits I have every day, and if I start choosing, the other thing, those experiences over time make me now that person. And I consider that person that I'm trying to become would be my best self. And I felt like the plant medicine stuff really helped me kind of get a visual on like what my best self looked like as far as, in every way, like the way I take care of myself physically, the way that I speak to my friends and family, the way that I manage and communicate to people I love and not get off the handle and let my old bullshit interact first. And the old bullshit still shows up, man. God damn it. I wish after this many years, right, that it like just wouldn't, but it shows up and I just wave to whatever that feeling is now and continue on with the thing that I chose to do. The better reaction of being my best self. How does my best self handle even something stupid, dude? I use it in everything for, my best self gets on the treadmill tomorrow morning because we said we would. Like that's not up for fucking debate anymore. And so, or if I'm in the house and I notice the floor's dirty and needs to be swept, my best self goes ahead and grabs the fucking broom and sweeps and picks up instead of saying, my chick will get it. That ain't her fucking job. It's our house, right? We're both responsible. And so like that awareness I love from all those things. And that awareness that plant medicine blew the fucking doors off of for me changed a ton.
Yeah, it definitely showed me like what could be, what's possible. And but it wasn't an overnight fix.
No,
I had a lot of
fuck
deeply
no, it
rooted
isn't.
trauma that I was addressing, and then I was on the self discovery thing. I didn't know who I was. Like I didn't even like Cody Alford's my name, but that's not who I am. And I was felt really called to dive deep into that discovery, and to not accept face value. I learned a long time ago, face value will always deceive you. Oh, that guy's a badass. That guy's a piece of shit. Oh, this command's better. The grass isn't greener. So like all these different things, and then I'm trying to just, you know, as you could say, defy the norm, and
Sure.
not buy into the easy button, not buy into the simplistic outcome, because that wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go in life. And I was very successful in my military career, and I truly felt inside like, dude, I'm here for so much more, man. I know I'm capable of doing it. I'm a powerful person. Like I know I have something of value inside me. I just don't know exactly what it is yet. But over the past 5 years of doing the same thing, putting myself out there, sharing my story, growing, evolving, impacting, it kind of works out. And where I'm at today isn't even my peak. Where I'm at today is just where I'm supposed to
No
be at,
way. You
and
imagine having a moment and actually believing that this is your peak
oh yeah.
at this point? Like
Oh, not at this
you've had
point.
it before in the past.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm like, oh, I made it.
Yeah. Same, dude. I remember. I mean, fuck, dude. But, world champion in my sport. I'm writing. I've got an apparel brand, and at the time, like, I still also have a 9 to 5 job that's paying a big amount. And then, boom, I'll lose the job, which they should have let me go. And then, I get hurt not long after. And so now the sport thing's gone. Like the thing that I really laid into with full intensity in my life was gone. And like, I can't kind of do it. Like, it's like I mastered guitar and then lost hands. It is kind of the way I feel about, the athletic ability that I'd built over those years. And so, all right, then what's fucking next? But there has to be a direction forward. Otherwise, what do I do, man? I travel around and go to fucking Highland games and make sure everyone there knows that I used to be a world champion. Like, fuck that life, dude. I don't want to be playing some obligation to this ghost of my former self instead of being able to say like, yeah, that's a fucking rad thing Matt Vincent did. Watch all the other rad shit we do.
Absolutely. And that was another great thing about the van, because if I would have stayed in that area, bro, there was like, if I would have stayed in the area that I retired from, I would have been living the same like fairy tale. And that fairy tale
I mean,
had
what does
been
that look like, right? I mean, what does the post-active duty look like I mean, are you in a military town at that point?
I'm just back in the job. A goal and a dream of mine after I
Mm.
retired was to go work for the agency and be a contractor for that place. And huh, I got this phone call outside of my headquarters building when I'm still active duty. I'm about like 20 days out of retiring. My phone rings. I picks it up. It was an old workmate of mine who's over at this place that I wanted to work at as a civilian contractor. And he's like, "Hey, dude, I heard you're retiring. I'd love to have you over here. I'd love to fast track your packet. What do you say?" I'm like, as I just woke up in my Ford Ranger because I sold my dream truck and I bought this like $2,000 1998 Ford Ranger, and which I loved, by the way. It was so sick. It was something I never would bought because I was too good for like humbling
Oh yeah,
myself.
yeah, right.
And I bought this thing. I'm like, bro, I've been missing out. This thing is sick. It was like beat the shit, but it was manual. It was so fun. Anyways, I'm like, hey man, I really appreciate that, but I have to say no. I can't do it. And I was like, fuck. So, in my old career, my old past life, the next move is you get out, you go contract for the same place that you hated for 20 years, or you go
Yeah.
work for the government and you go work for these contracting agencies where you work with leaders that were shitty leaders when you were in that you complained about, but you want the job more than you care about that. And now you're their number fucking 5 man. Um, and you're their subordinate again with their crappy leadership, which I'm sure hasn't improved. They're in a place that they're more senior than you, and you're the boot all over again, dealing with the same bullshit. And I know this to be true because I've had plenty of friends that don't do that life anymore, that still do that life, and they tell me the same stories. Oh man, so and so is still a jerk. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Of course he
And
is.
it boils down for money, chasing dragons, and feeling fucking like that's all they're worth. A mentor of mine,
That thing you said there, right? Like chasing dragons. I find that one a really fucking interesting one, right? Because yeah, we do it. We have a tendency to do it as people so much. Um, I think one of the fuck ups is people don't pick a second dragon to chase, right? Like in the hero's journey, the hero learns a bunch of skills and goes to slay a fucking dragon. And then when he returns, he doesn't hang up his fucking sword. He learns more skills to go slay a bigger fucking dragon. And like that's the path. And each time during that journey of getting your ass kicked, prepared for the big dragon, like you learn. And we don't have a culture that's built around that at all. We have a culture that's very much built on you should fucking know what your life's supposed to be at 25, motherfucker. Why don't you?
or hey, this is all you're good at.
Or this is all you're good at. Yo, I
And then
really thought school wise that I was a fuck up. Like education wise, like I just didn't succeed there. Like I made B's and C's, right? Did okay. Never failed out of school or anything, but I definitely remember thinking that my intellect would at some point be a hindrance to my ability to get better at life. That like, oh, I'm only going to be allowed to have X type of jobs or like what an income looks like based on this identity I thought of me being kind of fucking dumb. And deciding to shatter that and realize that like, oh, I'm different. I don't fit in. And then leaning kind of more into that and finding other fucking people that don't.
but that's the fucking crazy thing is there's so many people that feel like they don't fit in, but they're going against their true intuition, their true calling, and that's why they're miserable as shit. I work with people that multimillionaires, they got everything they could want. The family, the money, the life, and they're so empty inside. And they come
Empty,
to me
dude.
to
It's a
find that one thing
fucking
that they can't
bummer.
buy. Yeah, they're trying to unlock that one thing, this true calling, this fulfillment inside them. Because when I ask them like what do they really want to do, it's not aligned with what they're doing now. But so many people are worried about what others are going to think about them. And I'm just so grateful now to have the perception and the reality of like, dude, we all die at the end of this road. and the destination isn't even guaranteed. And why, for once, knowing that I have my own reality, you have your own reality, the listeners have their own reality, why would I, for once, fucking relinquish my true potential by calling myself and considering myself average and norm like everybody else, and that my life is supposed to be fucking miserable like all of them? And I don't want to live that way. I was worried, as a special operator, you're supposed to get out and have a bachelor's degree so you can go work for the agency and make six figures a year at a minimum, or work for a corporate job and have six figures a year. And so, even through all my struggling at this point, retiring from the military, I'm still active duty. I'm doing all my college online because I knew, like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this shit when I'm a civilian. I'm not gonna probably not gonna find the motivation to do it. So I finished my bachelor's degree, and I'm setting myself up, doing what I feel like I need to do, right? Because that's all my other homies said they did before they got out. And 4 months into this, no, actually not 4 months, so about 1 year into being on the road, I get a phone call from a Green Beret I used to work with, and he's working this like just super over the top, high paying job in Los Angeles, California. And he's like, "Hey, bro, let me fly your wife out here. Let me show you the place. Let me tell you what we got going on, and I'm gonna pay you a large amount of money." I'm like, "Holy shit!" It was like a lot of money, more than I
Yeah.
thought I would be making at with neck
Ever.
tattoos,
Yeah,
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 hand
right. Ever. I've
tattoos.
eliminated myself from a path that this money's ever supposed to be on.
Yeah, it started with a two, and it had an eight behind it, and it was followed by a zero and a bunch of other zeros. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Are you serious?" So I'm like, "Babe, because I really wanted to know I could do more than just be a Marine. I wanted to know I could be
Yeah.
more than just being a veteran." And so I've done a few journeys at this point. I just actually got back from Peru at this point of my journey. I did Changa and ayahuasca out there, and so I'm
How
feeling
many
really good.
days, nights of each?
5 days. So I did
Okay.
three ceremonies, and then I did two back to back off the books Changa experiences.
See, I don't have any experience with Changa.
Dude, Changa. So ayahuasca was great. I was really hopeful that ayahuasca was going to just really change my life. And the great thing about ayahuasca is that I didn't ask for it; it called me. Uh,
It's
so
same
I'm,
deal.
I'm I'm in Tennessee. I'm in the mountains at my friend's house. And a year prior, I'm at his house and I'm tripping balls. I did another journey like out by his creek. He's like, "Oh man, you should do ayahuasca." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not ready for that." Fast forward a year later, I'm at his house again, tripping balls down by the creek. And this journey literally said, it said, "You're ready for the next level." Like that's what the final message was for me. The next day at 10 o'clock, my phone rings and it's like, "Hey, there's an extra spot to go to Peru to do ayahuasca in like 2 weeks. Are you interested?" And I was like,
Yep.
and I had scarcity mindset at the time, a lot of money scarcity, and I'm like, "Oh, I need to talk to my wife." I'm like, "But babe, we can't afford it." She's like, "Are you serious? We can afford it. Go."
Amazing that fucking voice will try to talk you out of it too, huh?
Oh yeah, you asked for it, universe provides, and you're like, "No, no, 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 I don't want to do it." And so I find myself in Peru, and it was actually like a really big event. It was a Dennis McKenna hosted
Oh,
uh
whoa.
yeah, yeah, so it was great. So we had like Dennis McKenna's like right hand shaman. uh Dennis is well known in the psilocybin, psychedelic, LSD world, all this type of stuff, and I didn't really know who he was when I went there, so it was a very
Hmm.
big treat for me.
Yeah, I
And
fucking bet. That's as close to getting into like Mount Rushmore weird as you can get. Like Terrence
it
McKenna
got weird
alone.
fast, and
Fuck yeah, I bet it did.
it was great. I remember being there, and it's so funny, and I'm so grateful for him out today because I remember when we get there and all these random people that I don't know. I still know them today, and I still talk to a few of them now, which is amazing. Um, they're like, "Tell your story." I'm like, I was in the Marines for this many years, and blah blah blah. Right, the same boring story, and but how I got here, and like I'm into all these different things, and I was hopeful that ayahuasca was going to change my life, and what ayahuasca did was really help me resolve a lot of issues in my life. Everyone's tripping balls, seeing like spaceships and like deities and UFOs and Mayans and Aztecs and ancient civilizations. I didn't see nothing.
I
I
didn't get
ain't
any of that
seen.
either, man.
I have no visualizations, and um,
Yeah, I thought ayahuasca was one of the least visually impactful experiences I had.
Yeah, it was a long game. That's like your
Mhm.
401k, that's like your rental property, right? It's that long-term investment. Um, that's what ayahuasca was for me, and it really helped me stop the head movies, right? I couldn't like close my eyes without this like carousel just constantly spinning, and I didn't know how to channel and harness any energy into myself.
What's
Honestly,
playing on your carousel?
dude, everything, things that are good, things that are bad, trauma, things I need to work on in my life, and I didn't know how to
You're just
address it.
not in control.
Not in control, and I'm just overwhelmed by them, and I feel like I'm a loser, and I'm like a victim and all this type of stuff. And what I realize is that plant my seed, focus on one thing at a time. And so each one of those memories in my head were there to teach me something, but I was failing to acknowledge that. And that's what ayahuasca taught me. And also, oddly enough, I don't know, 32 at this time of my life, 33 years old, and I could never listen to lyrics prior to this ever. I could listen to the music. I love music because of the beats, but I never could hear lyrics. After ayahuasca, I
Oh,
could hear
interesting.
lyrics. I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like,
Yo, my entire music vibe changed after ayahuasca, and I can't think of like another moment that would have shifted it as hard as that.
yeah, it was great, but after I did a soul retrieval in Peru. Also, I went to the shaman. I'm like, hey, dude, I feel unworthy. Like I've done like 5 psilocybin journeys before this, and I'm like, hey, man, every one of them is telling me I'm living a life without me and that I'm soulless. So I did this like soul retrieval while I was out there too, and he's like, yeah, bro, he didn't say bro, right? He did not speak English.
Cool,
Uh,
cool shaman.
yeah, but my interpretation was essentially like you had like a bunch of like dark entities around your spirit, and I had to bring it back to you. And honestly, dude, I felt it. I felt so much power. I felt then my last remaining ceremony, because I had one more after that experience, because I drank like 4 cups of brew
Yep.
on my very first journey, and nothing, like
So,
nothing.
same. I got the exact same boat, dude. My very first experience, I drank 4. Oh man, and what an ass kick that was in general. We went down. My chick and I went down to Costa Rica and did 4 nights via, and like the first 2 nights, I got jack shit and drank as much as they'll fucking give me because I'm in. And like this is an experience I have built up in my life as like, all right, motherfuckers, let's fucking strap into this rocket ship and let's see where it wants to go. Like I'm
Right.
expecting my ugliest shit, my worst stuff to come up and be living it and ready for it. And it gave me fucking nothing, dude. And that was worse for me. That it was this moment of like, yeah, I'm unfixable. Like I'm stuck in this. Like I'm not even, the medicine doesn't work on me. And then the next night it kicked off and it really wasn't that visual, but man, there was some stuff that night that I sorted through and changed a perspective on. And that perspective has never fucking drifted back. It has just shifted those things to such a level of gratitude that I ever had them, instead of that other side of the window is I'm bummed I can't anymore.
Yeah, I remember before this whole thing started off, the shaman asked, he asked me, he's like, what are you willing to give up to become the best version of yourself? And I said everything. I was uh I was ready to be nailed to the cross, dude. I was committed. I was beyond committed to change my life. Dude, traveling to Peru alone was a journey in itself.
Yeah.
That was terrifying for me. I was terrified. So like all these things, even before the medicine entered my body, were for healing. And I was just grateful for it. But I was terrified the whole process. And I finished my last ceremony, and that ceremony was really about planting myself and being able to channel energy. So I was able to actually feel his ikatos and like really feel like the vibration. That's when music changed for me for everything. Like I love my certain music, and just like whoa, 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 I just feel that connection. And but I still felt like I wasn't complete. And so we have one more day in Peru, and we're staying in this like beautiful villa. I mean, it's just simple and it's beautiful, and it's just nature and just peaceful and tranquil, all these great things. And my friend had this like bag of changa, and because he's been traveling around Peru for like 35
In
days now,
Changa, what is Changa?
it's like a flower based DMT. It looks like a
Okay.
tobacco almost, right?
All right.
Um, And so he's like, "Hey, do you want to smoke this?" I'm like, "Yes." And
Yeah, of
so,
course. Well, man,
yeah,
once you've ventured into the other realm and then you
I'm
realize,
open,
like,
dude.
dude, I don't know what it was for me, and it still has reigned really true that I think because I spent a big chunk of time in like chronic physical pain, I'm not stressed out about like thought pain of like
I'm here for
reliving
it.
a scenario. And
Yeah,
so
I
it's like, yo,
was.
let's fucking go. Like, I know there's no physical danger here.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just like, dude, why else are you here? If you're not here to go all in, why are you here? And
Mm-hmm.
so I like, he like packs his bong. He like gives me like a quick little rundown, like what to do. He's like, hey, take all these deep breaths. He's like, if you for whatever reason you don't like where you're going, go back to your breath. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm kind of nervous, but I'm like, I'm full sin, bro. Like I'm on the edge of the cliff. I'm like, fuck it. I know I'm not gonna die,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna jump off this thing because I went to Peru to find love for myself. I had no love for me, and I realized that before I got there. And but I didn't feel like I had love for me at this point. I still didn't feel like I had this love that I was searching for. And so I ripped this bong, dude, and I'm like, I'm gone. And Chonga's like a 30 to 40 minute trip.
Oh
And
shit. Okay.
yeah, and I lived it was fucking gnarly. And the first time I had no intention. He's like, before I rip this thing, he's like, I'm like, what do I do? He's like, well, set your intention. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, just ask us to show you the coolest thing you've ever seen. I said, okay. So I thought to myself, show me the coolest thing I've ever seen. And bro, it sent me there and it did that. I come to like 35, 40 minutes later and I'm like, whoa. But I'm like, you know what? That was fun. It was revealing, but that's not why I came here. I'm like, I want to do
Mm.
it again. I'm like, it's not what I came here for. And so now I'm kind of terrified because the breakthrough was absolutely terrifying. It's scary to let go of the perception of the reality that you call home. Um, and
Yo, because man, you step through a door with that shit that is undeniable that like, well, there's other realms here that we just don't have access to.
yeah, the fact that the mountains were like, waving and smiling at me, and everyone was like a
Yep.
big titan. I'm just like, holy shit, dude! Like, wow, because psychedelics was great, but I always did psilocybin by myself in the woods at nighttime, always, right? So like I experienced the things that I experienced there, but nothing like this Changa experience. Ayahuasca wasn't like this. Dude, I was in a different dimension, and
Yeah,
so
my
I
experience with DMT is just straight DMT. And that,
oh
that's
yeah,
only like 3 to 5 minutes. But I
but
mean,
it's that
nothing
same.
visually compares.
Oh yeah, DMT is great. The closest thing to DMT comparison visually is LSD, and I love acid. It was a huge stepping stone for me to really shift perspectives. But I go back to this Changa experience, and it's funny too. People listen to this like, "Oh, you're so druggy," and I'm just like, "Do you have no idea?
Oh
And you can call
God,
me what you
dude.
want to, bro, because
What
it doesn't even
interesting
matter."
programming. Meanwhile, driving down the
Wow,
street, I
changed my
see nothing
life,
but
dude. I've
billboards
transformed
that are
my
trying
life.
to sell fucking drugs.
Yeah, dude, like go yeah, really you haven't like clicked the connection yet? That's an industry. If the doctors were so great, why are you still getting sick? If your shots were
Mm.
so great, why do you get sick every fucking year? Why do you get sick afterwards? Right? Like, you believe what you want to believe. I don't believe what I want to believe,
I'm
and
good
I'm
on
all
my
in on all.
evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I ripped this thing again and I have this intention to find love for myself. And I go through this fucking battle. It's intense, it's terrifying, and I lived out my whole life, and my whole life brought me to where I was at right there in that very garden. Like I lived out everything. Everyone in my life was all connected to lead me to where I was at in that garden in Peru with that experience. Because the shaman was like, hey, no red meat, no sex, and no drugs, no medicine, for like 5 days. And I've
Yeah,
always been
dieta,
a
right?
guy, huh?
Dieta,
Like,
the kind of
yeah.
ceremonial way to prep your body for it.
Well, this is afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, hey, don't eat any of this stuff, don't do any of these things, be as clean as possible for the next 5 days to let it all kind of like just set and digest and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, that's kind of like a guideline. So I'm already going against the grain by smoking this, but I felt so called to do it because I felt so. If I would have left Peru without smoking changa, dude, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. I
That's
would have
fair.
left
Well, I
very.
mean, of course you're not, right? I mean, like, and that's a really easy thing once you've stepped through that realm to see like the way things work. And that action is part of why you're here where you are today. I don't know what the other timeline looks like, but it ain't this.
It ain't this. And it's that's when I started to like connect with consciousness and like start listening to myself, you know, and like that voice, that silent voice that might not be coming from Cody Alford. It ain't coming from me, period. You know, I know that now, but like it's inside me speaking to me and me listening to that, like, you know what, I'm here for more. And
Yo,
I
that
get to
internal voice is a really fucking fascinating one.
I love it, dude. You know, that's I equate that to God now. You know, before I didn't know, but that's you know that's my belief. That's what I equate it all to now. This consciousness, this connection to this higher power. Right? It's not Cody Alford leading me to these struggles and adversities and these great things in my life. It's this voice, and it's up to me to choose. Do I want to listen to it or not? You know, free will still
Yeah,
is
the
free will.
source.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you can call it fucking Pain Express, you know? Like I don't give a shit. I'm not sentimental and emotionally controlled like that where you know, you call it Farfanugan. I don't really care.
Yeah, I
It's
don't give
greater.
a shit as long as it's helping.
Yeah. And
Right.
I'm in this battle to like say the words like I love me, you know, like I was like in this dark abyss spinning to like this like dark endless pit. I'm like, I love me. And what I realized was that like I was able to say the words I love me, but it was very broken and very non-complete. And I'm like, that's not good enough. That's you can do better. And it's just so hard to say the words I love me. And you know, however long that time frame was, I was able to say I love me. And I opened my eyes and the whole strip stopped and I knocked over a chair in the process in this garden. And I stand up and I lift the chair up and I sit in and I just start to fucking bawl. And it was
Mm.
such a good cry, dude. I was bawling my ass off. And it was like every member there at that retreat with me was a portion of my life. You know, the happy couple that was there going it together. I'm like, fuck, they show me what can be. This person that's overcoming all these things show me what I used to be and what I can be. Like it was just everyone there was a piece of the puzzle in my life, and it was just so crazy. And you know, I left there with like, fuck, man, I have so much love and gratitude in my life now, and it showed me what can be if I continue this journey. Um, and it was just this powerful, powerful, powerful feeling, and you know that set me on this trajectory to keep on seeking growth and evolution and psychedelics. You know, I kept on feeling called to do more and more and more, and I've been doing, yeah, been on that journey for a long time, and um, it's absolutely transformed my life, and it's helped me not not accept. It's helped me rise through so many things. It's helped me see my true potential, and it's helped me release these anchors that have binded my mind for so long. You know, I don't know. Have you done ibogaine or 5-MeO DMT yet?
I haven't. My experience is really quite a bit of psilocybin, um, quite a bit of acid, a bit of Molly. Um, Molly's been a really interesting tool for, right set and setting. And then the big trip with ayahuasca. I'm for sure due for some bigger rips.
So I thought DMT was like it because it's big. You know, the way I was best
Yeah. Oh
explaining
yeah.
this,
Yeah. Sorry.
psilocybin,
And quite a bit of DMT.
yeah, psilocybin shows you the door. LSD opens the door. DMT kicks open the door. That was how I was explained to it years ago, and that couldn't be more accurate. And each of those
Right.
are they're difficult. They're what you make of it.
Yeah.
Well,
DMT is one of those that like, I don't know how you've smoked DMT other than just changa, but like I've had it on a vape
I
cartridge.
smoke.
Okay.
In my previous experiences, I use like the flake from the root, tree
Yeah.
root itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Both, both work. Right. Man, my experience with DMT, I don't know why it's like as it cranks in, right? Like you've got that feeling where you're in holding and holding and holding and inhaling and getting that big breath of it. And like I can feel this energy and electricity really start working. And then when you let that exhale out, fucking fire it off into another realm. But it's fucking intense because like as that's cranking up, like I end up with this very audible, like almost this like electrical noise cranking to full fucking 10, and then it shorts. And it's
I
like
call
it
it.
resets the fucking modem.
You remember in the Matrix when Neo he gets that injection, and it's like that like aluminum goes down his throat, that electrical sound.
Yes.
That's what I feel. That's what I
Yes.
sound like. That's what I
Yeah, it's
feel every
very
time.
similar.
And it's trippy to even think remotely that this isn't real.
No, and dude, and then to like, man, of psilocybin, I'll recommend to anyone, but even DMT, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot. Like, I don't, like, I feel weird saying like, yeah, you should do that when it needs to be something called to.
Yeah, I always recommend DMT to people when they're really just trying to let go of something, when they're really trying to get to the core of something and not be identified by it. Because let's be real, psilocybin, my largest journey was 13 and a half grams of psilocybin in the Grand
Mhm.
Canyon. I don't care who you are, that's going to take you for a ride. That was probably the
Yeah.
most wild trip I've ever done in my life. Um, and that was with mushrooms. But DMT, I try to tell people and show people like DMT is great. DMT is the ice bath for your soul. With ice bath,
Mm,
you can go into an ice bath and you can be like, I'm gonna, you can endure that for a long period of time. But you can also go to an ice bath and just let go.
yep.
And how do you let go? You
Which is
just
the
simply
ideal.
let go, and you can have a normal conversation, even knowing that you're inside this ice bath that is fucking cold.
Well, because you
DMT,
can disconnect between this feeling I have and the reaction I need to make.
and that's
That
what
feeling
DMT is.
doesn't get to fucking drive the boat anymore.
And that's what DMT is. And that's what I explain DMT for people is like, because DMT, if you don't let go, bro, you will self destruct. You will just fight it tooth and nail.
The same with mushrooms or any psychedelic, any plant medicine. Like if you're not willing to hand the keys over to where that wants to go, best of luck.
Yeah, because it's that trap door effect. You're falling, dude, and you can ride
You know,
that
you're
out. You
just
can
battling
fall,
you inside at that point.
yeah, or you can just let go. And every time I smoke DMT and I just let go, it reminds me that nothing I concern myself with in this physical life matters. Nothing I
Mm,
stress over matters. None of the shit I'm dwelling on matters. None of it does, because I can be happy without doing 99% of the things I'm doing, but I'm choosing to.
right.
I'm fucking choosing to. The good and the bad. I'm choosing to do that. The only point or 1% that I'm not, that I have no control of is just my timeline. But I'm choosing to do 99% of everything else. And DMT reminds me that, like, bro, you need to chill. Come back to your breath and ground yourself. And stop. Stop trying to live with so much expectation.
Yeah.
And it's such a great reminder. It's such a great cold plunge for my soul. Um, and I'm forever grateful of it.
Now, do you think like, yeah, I think we've kind of seen this big trend in mental health, and whether that's military guys or anyone, right? Like, and I think in our culture and in Western culture in America, we have this big issue with mental health and further division and identity being such a big part of deciding who you are, and that's been categorized down to like your fucking hair color and being on a team. That expectation of what we all think this life is supposed to work out based on the programming that we've been part of. Why do you think people have such a hard time letting go of that and understanding that the intention is the light to follow?
I mean, think about it, dude. If you knew you had control of your life, that would terrify most people. Because then they know the thing they really want to do, they could, but the only way to get there is by fucking suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's terrifying to people. Power is terrifying to people. People are like, Cody, how do you be a leader? I'm like, bitch, you be a leader. You
That's
speak
right.
up. You know when to speak up and you know when you're not speaking up. Every time I ever spoke up in the military, before I was ever in a leadership position, I wasn't the only guy fucking thinking what to say.
Of course, you never are.
Every time there was time to fucking maneuver on the battle space, I wasn't the only guy thinking about doing that, but I was the guy that did it. And so were my friends. And so when you know that the power is inside you to make a difference, dude, that is terrifying because now you know it's just you against you. Oh, Cody, I wish I could move into a van. I wish I could travel around. Like, bitch, you can, but you're not willing
You
to
can.
sacrifice because you're in
Right.
love.
Sell everything you own.
You're in love with the story of
But
hell that you've created in your mind.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
I would
it's
love this, but we just moved into our dream house. Is your dream house more important than your fucking salvation, your life, your happiness, your fulfillment? Motherfucker, I was in a dream house. I had my dream truck. I had my dream motorcycles. I had my dream everything. And I was committed to finding the most important thing, which is me.
Mhm.
Because I had no belief system. Because I didn't know who I was. I had no direction or guidance in my life because I didn't know who I was. So no matter what I tried to like distract myself with, it was going to lead me back to the same fucking destination.
Right.
And I don't think people are ready for that type of ownership. They don't. Most importantly, I don't think they believe it. You know, I was at this big seminar, and I spoke to 1,500 people on Monday. My largest crowd to ever speak to in person. It was amazing. I loved every second of it. I'm so grateful for. I'm just so grateful I was able to go out there and deliver what needed to be delivered. But I'm talking to a lot of people in the audience, and they're like, "Oh man, I didn't do what you did," or like, it's hard to talk to guys like you because you have this mentality. I'm like, stop. You're no different than me. I'm
Yo, that
not
imposter
tough.
syndrome's a motherfucker.
I'm not tough. I'm not strong. I just refused. I know I'm here for more. I'm not afraid to fucking say that. I know I'm a good leader. I'm not afraid to say that. I don't feel bad about that. People are like, you need to humble yourself. Like, bitch, look at the definition of a humble or humility, thinking little of oneself. I don't think little of myself. Why would I? How can I say I believe in a higher power than me, but like not believe in myself? I'm a fucking vessel. I'm a carrier for that. Why would I renounce and play so fucking tiny when I know inside I'm called for fucking more?
Right.
Not to make the more money, not to have the cars, not to have this materialistic, but to fucking impact. The
Yo, that
income,
bullshit's a side effect.
yeah, all the other shit, it's a byproduct of showing the fuck up and being uncomfortable. I looked at the world completely fucking skewed for years. I was like, man, rich people, they're horrible. I can't make money. I can't do these things. Money, when I lived in the van for the first 2 years, I thought, and I started tripping and started becoming a journeyer. I thought money was a devil, and it still is in a way.
Mm.
But so is my phone. So is people. But you can't have
So's
light
tons
without
of
dark.
shit.
Yeah, you can't have
Right.
one
Like
without
so's the
the other.
fucking TV. So's
All of it.
and all of those things, right? They're tools. Like they're
They're
like
tools.
money or the TV or my phone or any of those things. Like, yo, they don't have an intention of hurting me or helping me.
It's how
They're
I
a
use them.
mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't see those things back in the day like that. And so it's funny now, like I made a post the other day, and I've said it before, and I'm not the originator of this, and you probably said it before too, like, your network is your net worth. If I hang around losers, I'm gonna be a loser. If I hang around negative Nancy's, I'm gonna be negative. Don't believe me? Well, I can just go back in my own timeline and be like, man, on the weekends I go drink with my workmates. All we did was talk about work. All we were negative and all we did was talk crap. And guess what? Nobody was doing anything different about it.
Nobody's doing shit. You know, there's a
Uh,
big shift in your life, right? If it ever happens. And I remember mine when I realized that like the groups of friends I were around weren't bitching anymore. And look, there's a difference between venting and problem solving
yeah.
and bitching and not wanting to do anything about it. And people bond over that bitch so much. And I remember when it shifted gears to a different group of friends to where everyone was talking about ideas and everyone was talking about dreams and what they were going to be doing and what was coming up and like what the next thing was. And I was like, holy fuck, this rules. These are other people going for it and realizing like, wait, that exists. And then like being exposed to the same group and realize they're not operating with scarcity. Like they're actually rooting each other on and love each other. That you making progress just shows me what's possible. And shifting all of those perspectives over to this new reality of just being abundance and gratitude and what can be done, shifted everything for me. And to now, like, of course I have to maintain what environment I'm in. Of course I need to give a shit and be intentional about who I spend my time with. I need to be intentional about every fucking aspect of my life. Why wouldn't I be? If not, I'm handing the fucking keys over and letting someone else drive.
And you've already done it before, and you know exactly where that led you to.
I know where that gets me, right? Like I fucking know what happens there.
Yeah.
Now, through your plant medicine journey, how was that as far as exposing you to empathy? And not just empathy for other people's plight. Like I know for me, especially say when we were at the place to get ayahuasca and you're talking about seeing all these other couples, it really illuminated for me the idea of that, like, oh, we're actually all the same. We're all just on different timelines sorting out whatever it is, and we all ended up here.
Yeah, and I really, I was around 1,500 law enforcement officers around the United States, this past week, and they're like, "Oh man, I haven't gone through the things you've been through." I'm like, "Stop,
Right.
stop.
Yo, your heaviest moment is
You're
still a
exactly
10.
where you need. You're exactly where you need to be." I had a guy come up to me, and his wife messaged me on social media, sent me the CAT scan because imagine he like reached out to her. She messaged me a picture of like his brains out of his head, like a scan of it. He got shot with an AK-47, and I met the guy the next day at the seminar, and he's like, "Hey man, I haven't gone through what you did, but I was shot in the head." I'm like, "Stop."
I
I'm
was
like,
shot in the head and I'm going to fucking downplay it.
"Why do we do this?"
Yo.
There's another guy. He was like, there's this whole like, forgot what they're called, but something like there's like a survivor thing. Like basically all these cops are shot in the line of duty. There's like a nonprofit for them, and this guy he was shot like 3 times with like it's crazy gunfight. He retired from the force, and he's like, "Yo, man, I haven't done all the cool things." I'm like, "Stop! Look what you're doing now,
Yeah.
dude. You went through all that stuff, and you could have quit, but you haven't. And you started this program to help out all these other men and women out there that need you. How is that not badass? How can you not see that?" And this is a big, but this is a real big medicine for me. So you said like about empathy, but I'm always the seed's planted, and it's always growing and nurturing inside me. I spoke on stage with Jason Redman and Kyle Carpenter, these dudes that were
Legends.
they were fucked up in combat.
Yep.
Kyle Carpenter being this like the youngest Medal of Honor recipient, Jason Redman being this Navy SEAL who has gone through all these levels of adversity, self-destruction, and growth and triumph, and changed his life around in the teams just to get fucking mowed down on the battlefield. And he's like, "Fuck, I thought I was actually changing, and then I was faced with this," and he turned his whole life around, and now he's that living testament. And I'm like, "Dude, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna talk on a stage? Oh, I got shot in the helmet. I felt sorry for myself. Like I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how can I go on stage when these hitters are gonna be there?" And I said, "Stop." I said, "Stop." One, I really didn't
Just
believe
tell
the
your
panic.
truth.
I said, "I'm fucking here because I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
My story is just as fucking important like everyone else, but it's not about my story. It's about what I'm here to do." I wasn't there to tell a story, bro. I was there to inspire, not motivate. Fuck motivation. Motivation doesn't lead motherfuckers from like the trenches to charge a machine gun bunker. Inspiring people is what creates that action, right? And I was there to inspire, and all I asked for was I just wanted to impact one soul there. Out of 1,500 people, I just wanted to impact one soul, and I did that plus.
Yep.
But it was a great thing for me because it really been able to like go through that hurdle and that question in my own head and to let it go and realize it's just a voice, man. That ain't me. I'm fucking here because I'm supposed to be here, man. I'm here because people see value in me. I'm here because people know I can help these men and women out. And that's more important than any fear and insecurity that I have. And so to be able to face it the night before I speak, and I was the first speaker of the whole event,
Mm-hmm.
right? The main guy goes out there for like 30 minutes and he gave me half his time to speak for 45 minutes. And I was like, fuck, it's on, right? But
Right.
but
Right. Right.
being able to be still open to change and to growth and to have that 12 hours prior, but to be there and to be around all these men and women who are like, "Oh, I haven't done as much as you." I'm like, "No, dog, you're exactly who you're supposed to be, exactly where you're supposed to be," and like everything about you is what makes you you. I'm like, "You're
Can
gonna
you
die just
imagine
like."
discrediting your thing because you haven't had enough hardship?
That's what's crazy, and it happens all the time. I met there's so many veterans that are law enforcement officers, and I'm like, every fucking person I shook a hands, I'm like, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?" Right? I was so great that these people want to take pictures with me, and it was humbling. I was there to serve them, So I'm interacting with the crowd as much as possible. It's my first major event like this, so like, I wanted to be there for them. If that's who I have to be, that's who I am. I'm here for these people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a vet." I'm like, "Hey, do you have all your VA pay? Are you getting all your VA benefits?" "No, I only did 8 years." I'm like, "Bitch, you only did 8 years." Only 8 years? You ever hear prisoners say, I only did 8 years of time"? Fuck no. They're like, "Dude, I did 8 years of prison." I know people that did like 6 months. Like, "Fuck, dude, it changed my life." I'm like,
Yeah.
"You did 8 years?" Like, "Oh, I didn't deploy." And I'm so blessed to have friends from all different backgrounds. One of my good friends, he never made it out of boot camp. He got injured in boot camp, and he's 100% permanent total. And so,
Yeah.
like, I'm glad I know him, and I'm glad he was vulnerable to share his story with me, because now I get to use that as a testament for all these other people who don't think highly of themselves. And I'm like, bro, you're doing a job serving your community that could literally kill you, and you don't even believe in yourself? What?
It's incredible, right? It's a
And
fucking
most people never connect
incredible.
those dots. They never connect because they never been posed those questions. And so one thing I love about plant medicine, and you talk about empathy, is that plant medicine has used me as a vessel to be able to help connect with people and relate to people, because they might not be into it or they might not be able to do it. And so it's allowed me to open myself up and unleash my true superpower. My superpower is vulnerability. And
Yeah.
that alone has helped me connect with so many people and to help them see their own power, their own truth, their own light. And once you can send someone to that direction, bro, fuck, dude, you can change their life. You can help them change their life by just allowing them to see themselves for who they truly are. I can take all my years of plant medicine experience and download it to you in a fucking 15-minute conversation.
Right.
And that's, to me, that's a gift, dude. And if I can be a vessel or a channel for that, then fucking sign me up time and time again, because I know what it's done to my life and my family. And if you could be afforded the same thing on your journey, because you're not supposed to live my life, you're not supposed to live my journey, let alone have my fucking background or my story. You're supposed to have yours. And if you can unlock yourself, your mind, your heart connection, and be like, fuck, dude, I am here for a reason. You have no idea who you're here to serve until you go out there and do it. You have no idea who you're here to impact if you don't fucking walk today. Um, and to me, that's what's powerful, because we like to think that we might be all dead, but we ain't going all the same place. Because to me, we start dying before we're ever dead. We start fucking chipping away bit by bit inside
Well, I mean,
this.
what's that quote, right? That like most men die at 25 and we don't bury them until 75.
Yeah, fuck all that noise, dude. Like,
Fuck all
yeah,
that, dude.
yeah, I ain't got time for that shit. It terrifies me. One of my biggest fears in life, or my biggest fear in life, is not living up to who I know I can be. And who I can be is who I know I need to be today. I'm not really worried about 10 years from now. I'm really worried about today, because today is going to make me or break me. It's going to reveal who I'm supposed to become.
Yeah, like,
And
man, I'm just trying to set up 10 years from now with as much options as that dude can get.
yeah, dude, like, I try to view myself like the bigger play. I'm like, okay, I don't know where I want to be at when I'm 50 years old. I'm sorry, I don't have the answers. But I'm like, you know what? This scares me. That experience scares me. So I'm gonna go sign up for those things.
Yep.
I'm going to a bow making class. Actually, a Marine veteran. I think it's called Organic Archer. I think that's his name on Instagram.
Okay.
But like, I'm signing up for his course. I'm going out to Nebraska to go do a 3-day, uh, primal bow making course. Why? I don't know. It kind of intimidates me, and
Yeah, it's
I might
scary.
find something I'm more passionate about. I'm diving to Forest Blue. I'm doing, Rudy Reyes.
Yeah, I know Rudy really well.
So part of his
There's only one
nonprofit.
of those.
Yeah, only one Rudy Reyes. Part of his
There's only
nonprofit.
fucking one Rudy. I went to his 50th birthday party in Kansas City. I've
You
known
know,
Rudy for a number of years.
idiot, and he looks so handsome and just jacked. Like,
Incredible. Rudy was one of those guys, man, that he's so unique. I remember for years, like I met him through Sorinex and Summer Strong and a bunch of stuff like that and different that community. And man, the first couple years I was around him, I was like, what's he putting on this fucking show for all the time? And like that's how I felt. I'm like, get your fucking shirt back on. And why are you constantly walking around working out and all this shit, right? Because it just felt like such a fucking show. And over years, I've realized it's not.
that
It's
is.
not a show. Rudy's doing that because Rudy's aware of what Rudy's demons are. And he keeps them fucking tied up on the ground in front of him and exhausted. And that's one of the ways he manages them. He's not pretending they're not there anymore.
On my desktop, I did a call with Rudy a few months back, and I have a recording, and so like I'm actually like seeing Rudy's face right here on my
Oh, shit.
screen while we're talking about him. And but yeah, so like, but he asked me up. He's like, "Hey, do you want to like hop on this Force Blue team and like, do this diving, and because you get like certified in like shark tagging, wreck mapping, coral reef cleanup. And I'm like, that sounds terrifying. Sure.
Yeah, right.
Because I want more
Dude.
experiences, like I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I know I want to do more than I'm doing now. I don't want to be in the van anymore where I
Mhm.
have all this opportunity and do nothing with it. I want to say yes to more experiences that challenge me. I want to, if one, they're lying, what's a line to me? And I'm so open to like, I serve a lot of people, like I've been on social media serving people for 5 years, not really intentionally. I just been sharing, and that turned into servitude in a way. And now I
Mhm.
really, dude, I love to serve, man. I'm not perfect by any fucking means, but I love to share my journey. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
gonna
I mean,
fucking
but
be
that's
dead.
that's where your truth is, right?
I don't care what anyone thinks about me, and I did for a lot of years. I cared, even when I acted like I didn't. I cared a lot. Internet trolls, man, you can get 1,000 good positive feedbacks, but you can get that one motherfucker, dude, that says something
Dude,
just
and
so.
you guys community gets it worse than anyone else. Like,
Bro, half the
I've
people that
been
talk shit
luckily
to me, I go to their
I've been almost
profile.
never trolled in my entire fucking existence of being online.
Well, you need to start having fucking more veteran
If I could
friends.
get more popular, Cody, it would help.
You need to get more veteran friends, clearly. When people
Yeah, it
talk
would
shit
sort me
about stuff,
right out.
I go to their page. I'm like, and they're following me, and two, it says they're a fucking veteran. I'm like, typical. You're
Mhm.
another typical veteran who's clearly fucking triggered. And
Well, crabs in a bucket, dude. Like,
oh
fuck
yeah,
this
dude.
guy thinks he's getting out of here saying that he knows all this shit. Let me take him back down a peg and make me feel better.
Yeah, but I get that because I was that guy. I remember looking at my friends who I thought were winning, who were successful, or who looked like their family life was good to go, or they were liked by their wife, or they were making money, or they were doing things that I wanted to do. And I'm like, fuck that guy. That guy was a piece of shit in the job. He sucked. I'm better than him. Why am I not living that life? And I would just be triggered by these people, straight up triggered. And
Yeah.
so I know what it's like to be on the opposite side of that screen. One of the guys in my coaching group, he's a veteran. Weird. Um, he's been in my group since day one. So I started about 2 years ago. He's been in my coaching group for about 2 years now. Major supporter. He's that lifelong
Mhm.
super fan that just he's a great person. He met me through the internets. He was homeless, living under a bridge, and he had a piece of shit phone. And he scrolls onto Instagram, and he see me pop up, and he tells me, he's like, dude, I would just motherfuck you. I'm like, man, fuck this guy. And I'm just out there like doing what I do, right? And I'm
Sure.
just doing it, and I triggered him so much. But he even says in the group, he's like, it wasn't Cody that triggered me. It was the fact that I wasn't who I was supposed to be. It triggered me. And so it is what it is, but that's the price you pay, man. You want to shine a light, bro? The bugs are gonna fly at you. It's just how it
Right.
is,
He's
and
gonna
I'm
bum
willing to
people
pay.
out.
So like it's scary. It sometimes is intimidating. There's a lot of people out there that are crazy. There's a lot of people out there that want to do you harm. Um, you never know anyone's intentions. And like I said, I don't claim to have it figured out, but this is just my life, dude. Like I'm not saying this is a bandwagon for you. I don't care. I'm just gonna do me, and I'm sharing it because along that journey, there's one piece of breadcrumb that could transform your life, and we all die at the end of this. The greatest people you've ever looked up to and inspired to be like, they're all dead or they will die
All
one
fucking
day.
dead.
So, so why would I play small? Why would I hold myself back when people will tell me, some of my one-on-one clients are like, oh, I'm like, so why aren't you doing that? Like, well, I'm just scared. I'm like, scared of what? What my people will think about me. I'm like, do you want them to write your obituary? Do you want their life? Why are you taking their advice? Why are you allowing them to dim your light? Dude, you're gonna be dead as shit one day. How do you not see that? And there's a long time in my life I didn't see that. I survived so much crazy, hellacious things in my life. I kind of was empty and mute.
Mhm.
I had no really perspective anymore because I was just so selfish and I was in so much pain, and I never really saw my potential. And now I see a lot of potential in me. And the more I believe myself, the more the darkness tries to come out, the more my own demons come out. right? Because you don't cure them; they don't go away, no matter
No.
how much medicine I've done in my life, or epiphanies I've had, or what I think I know about God, or what I think I know about belief, or what I think I know about happiness and truth. It's all an idea, but it
That's it.
becomes a belief when I walk the path. It becomes a belief when I fucking stand up for it, you know? And to me, that's the hardest thing is like people are trying to compare their today with me. And, you know, meeting Kyle Carpenter and Jason Redmond, we had breakfast before they spoke. I was day one speaker. They were like a day three speaker. And it was so humbling because I'm like, I felt very associated to them. They're veterans like myself. They're speakers, and I've been wanting to be a speaker. You know, think I've been wanting to be a speaker for a long time, and now I'm doing it. And they quickly reminded me that they've been doing this for almost 10 years.
Right.
They met each other in the hospital in their recovery. And so Jason's been actually doing it for like 9 years. And I'm like, guys, I feel like I'm really good at speaking. I'm really good at storytelling. I'm really good at like, I know I can like move an audience. I know I can inspire a fucking anything to happen. Like, I know I'm really gifted and blessed with that ability. But I'm like, man, but I want to be the best. I want to be great. You know, like I try to like write my things down and I just couldn't remember it. I'm never like a structure guy. I'm always like, I had no idea what I was going to talk about, by the way. You know, I had no
Right.
plan. That's not how I operate. And when I try to do that, it goes against me. And they're like, hey, man, I was there when I started out. This is Kyle Carpenter and this is Jason Redmond talking. Like, that's how I was when I started out. But the more I did it, the more I blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, it was a good reminder for me. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
I'm
but
day one.
everything works that way, right? Like that's one of my favorite things I learned, at least from like the physical realm, you know, of training for sport, was that it takes like you can't fake being strong. And that's one of the fucking coolest thing about knowing other strong people is like, yo, you did your time then. Like there's no way to fucking get around that. The decade it takes to actually build real strength. And so anything else takes the same time. It takes the same intention. It takes the same effort of showing up every day and doing a thing to create a slight amount of change and give my body a reason to adapt to be stronger again for the next load. And that's for empathy. That's for self-confidence. That's for, you know, getting on stage and speaking. Like, I don't know about you, but like, since I haven't competed really since 2016, like I still need fucking moments that are like, now's the time, perform, motherfucker. Like I need that shit. And getting on
Yeah.
stage, yo, it's fucking super exposing because I'm not as confident doing that as I was, you know, throwing. I'm used to being
But
in front of people and I'm used to like, now's the time, let's go. But you got to fucking flex that muscle too to get good at it.
yeah, you got to deliver. You know, you got to deliver for yourself mainly. And then you got to remember why you're even fucking there in the first place. You know, so it's like, it's a double edged sword. And that's another thing too. People are like, Cody, I've done your breath work. It doesn't work. I'm like, bitch, I've been doing it for 5 years.
Right.
They're like, man, I did psilocybin. It didn't change my life. I'm like, bitch, I've been doing it for 5 years.
Right.
Oh, I'm no one important. No one's gonna hear my message. I'm like, I've been on the phone for 5 years. They're like, well, you don't understand. I'm like, I've been doing it for 5 years.
And I'm willing to also bet you'd say you're just getting started.
Bro, everyone's always getting started. You know what I'm saying? There's always more room for growth. You know, there's always more things to
Infinite.
acquire, sure, but there's more room for growth than, you know, I look at a lot of these, there's a lot of positive male figures out there. There's a lot of role models, a lot of entrepreneurs that I really look up to, a lot of people in your circle I look up to, and in some of these other circles, I'm like, man, but I have to pause myself. I'm like, dude, they've been an entrepreneur for 35 years, bro. But I'm like, but
Right.
I was in, you know, I'm like, oh, I feel cheated. I was in war for 15 years. I've really,
You chose
I've
it.
only been, yeah, I've only been an entrepreneur for only 2 years. I'm like, wait a second. A, I chose all that shit. B, I've done a lot of shit in 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Things are going great, asshole. Stop.
yeah, and I remember what I was doing in 2 years of the Marine Corps. I was one of the youngest sergeants in the Marine Corps. I picked up at 2.5 years. I'm like, damn, shut the fuck up and just go on the road, bro. And I have to remind myself. And what I like about the military is like I can recall a lot of things that are like hold true to today. In the military, you know, I remember there's a rank called a gunnery sergeant in E7. Uh, I was a gunnery sergeant for 6.5 years with the rank before I was pinned on to my next rank. But some of these ranks, you have to be this rank for like 4 years. And no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work, right, you have to do that job or that rank for at least 4 years.
Mm.
And so, like, I remind myself this. I'm like, dude, I did 15 years in the Marine Corps and it feels like a blink.
Right.
A deployment 6 months. That's a half a year, 180 days. That's a long
But
ass
it's
time. Long.
crazy how our perception of pastime is so fucking just condensed.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
But
for
like,
me,
I
right?
literally.
Like, you know, not dead yet, right? Like that feeling I've got, like the way that feels. And one of the questions I want to ask you is what that means to you. But, you know, for me, man, I realized when that feeling hit me of like, oh yeah, we're fucking dying, right? And like TikTok. And I thought about like when were times in my life that things slow down. And it's when I'm, you know, slightly uncomfortable and I'm new in a new experience and I'm trying a new thing and I'm, you know, I'm fully fucking turned on and aware and paying attention to everything going on around me because I don't have any autopilot to run this situation because I've never been here before. And when I do that, man, your memory and your recollection of that event becomes so big. Like, you know, getting to travel and go to Iceland for 10 days, right? And like do some stone lifting or any of this other stuff. Man, that's a huge experience with a ton of memories with the people I'm with, X, Y, and Z. But if I think about 8 weeks, I laid on the fucking couch after a knee surgery and I smoked weed and played video games. Yeah, I don't have shit to tell you. That 8 weeks fucking boop is gone. I didn't learn or do shit. And in those 10 days that I was in Iceland, fucking megally impacted my life. And you come home from one of these big life shifting, altering things. It's 10 days or 2 weeks in a car on a road trip. It happens. And you come back and you're like, nothing's changed. I didn't miss anything that fucking took place here. Nothing happened. And, you know, realizing that I've got to be the one to stay in those experiences to keep the autopilot from switching fucking on and just letting my life vanish. Because, man, we'll fight to be that comfortable that the autopilot will take over unless you're at the fucking wheel. And choosing to be uncomfortable on a daily basis on purpose is part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's all by design too. You know, like we fall into this instant gratification. You know, social media. You can look at someone who's 10 years ahead of you, 30 years ahead of you. You know, 12 levels, 12 steps ahead of you, but they eat and they poop like you, and you're like, man, why don't I have that? I'm not good enough. They
Right.
have it all figured out, but we have no idea what they have gone through to get there. And on top of that, you know, this is a highlight reel. People
It's a
show you
highlight.
what
It's
they
a
want to show.
curated fucking view.
And so it's even harder for these people, and sometimes even myself, to be like, fuck, man, am I doing it right? But then you have to ask yourself, what is right? You know, in the military, I had guiding principles. I had a structure, as in like, okay, well, there's a rank structure, so I have something to move up, and there was like different difficulties of jobs, and in each of those jobs, there's different positions on a team, right? So there's all this like stair steps to like, okay, I'm appointment today. I can be in charge of the team. Might take me like, excuse me, 3 to 4 years, but that's my next progression. And when you're a civilian, especially being a veteran for myself, I'm like, I get to choose that, what that looks like. I get to create that structure. I get to create the next step. And if I don't like it, I can move on to something else. I don't have to like commit to it and it's miserable. It's not making me happy. I can literally just like sell all my shit and start all over. You know, I've reinvented myself like 12 fucking times being out of the Marine Corps. Like I literally reinvented my identity, the clothes I wore, the style of hair I had, my nose ring, how I spoke, things that I participated in. I reinvented all that, and I'm still open to doing it. I'm still open to all those things. You know, I feel called to
Mm-hmm.
inspire people and to impact people's lives and to put the power back into them. It ain't me doing it. I'm just a vessel to help them see their own power, right?
Right.
But I'm also open to like the fact that like I might fall in love with pouring concrete. I might
Yeah.
fall in love with fucking dolphins and want to go fucking save dolphins. Like I'm open to everything because, like I ain't dead yet, dude, and I'm also not narrow minded. And the more I try to put myself in a box, the more I suffer unintentionally.
Same.
And I realize that I'm life is suffering. Period. Such a gift, but it's full of suffering. And I've seen people hold themselves back, loved ones. I've seen successful people hold themselves back. I've seen the strongest kill themselves because they're suffering. Well, you're going to suffer no matter what. So you can either suffer uh, with intention or suffer with no fucking direction in your life. But either way,
Yeah.
you're going to fucking suffer. It's going to be hard. You want to grow and level up your life. You want to go from poverty to fucking rich as shit. You want to go from fat to fucking jacked. You want to go from fucking no belief to self belief. Oh, it's going to be hard. And the crabs in your bucket are trying to pull you down the entire time until you decide that, you know what, fuck that bucket and fuck those motherfuckers. I don't owe them shit. That's hard in itself. I cut off a good friend of mine after like 20 years, like 3 months ago. It was the best thing I ever did. I'm like, block, delete, done. I didn't even fucking think twice. But you know what? I wanted to do that for so many years, but I was a pussy, dude. I was so scared because I'm like, I give him a second chance. I'm like, I know what he's going through. I've been there, but it's like, when the fuck am I like, you know what? Whoop, take my power back. And
Right.
every time I do this in my life, and I just start taking back my power, where I'm leaking it out, whether I'm like looking at a comment and it triggers me, I'm like, yeah, you know what?
Yo,
Screw you, man. But nope, give me my power. I put like a little smiley emoji, or I say, enjoy the show. Or I'm like, hey,
close
if
your
you want
fucking
free
phone, set it down, and say, fuck you, make me money.
yeah, I'm just like, if you want to join my coaching group for free because you feel like you need it, let me
Right.
know. I'll fucking get access. You know, I'm like, I just make a game out of it because life is a game to me. Will a bear eat me? Can it eat me? Yes. Can a car fucking run me over and kill me? Absolutely. But can
Well,
I
I don't
fucking do
see
it?
any difference to whether I run it by the rules of it being a game or not.
What do you mean?
Yeah, well, like if I choose to say this thing, because I feel the same way you do. This thing's a fucking game, right? Like where I get to choose the level ups I want. I got to pursue that path and I level up in real time. It's not, get the fucking magic amulet or whatever it is. But at that point, like it is a little bit of that process, right? Where I am gamifying things. Like I've got to build XP points to be able to do stuff. Like you don't become a scuba diver overnight. Like you fucking learn to become a scuba diver. How many people will say, I'm not disciplined or I'm not a carpenter. I can't do that. Like, well, how many fucking times have you tried?
Yeah. When's the
Oh,
last time you
none.
watched
No
YouTube?
shit. You're not good at it.
Yeah.
But people want to be good automatically because that fear of being found out that you're not good at stuff. Dude, we host this men's retreat weekend here, and one of the things I do during it is I've got a beginner boxing class and a beginner jiu-jitsu class. And the purpose of those classes, like I don't want to do some fucking cardio class. Like I want to teach some people some useful shit. Like teach some fucking men how to actually throw punches. Well, here's what a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually fucking look like. Here's how you generate force, because no one knows how. It's a crazy thing that most men somehow believe that they're capable, and they need that bit of exposure to realize, like, stop lying to yourself and go learn a thing. But until you can say, like, oh shit, I suck at that, it's really tough to look at where you need to go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But most people aren't willing to do that. And I tell guys at my first jujitsu gym, like, dude, day one I was scared. I just ended up switching academies, and I told those guys, they're like, bro, when I checked up here day one, I was terrified. They're like, you were scared? You have a fucking face tattoo, and you're like big. You were scared. I'm like, bro, y'all are intimidating. You're like fucking blue and purple belts, and like I'm a one stripe white belt. Like, yeah, I was terrified because you guys all look like hungry savages. But
Right.
guess what? That's the price you pay for admission. That's what you have to pay for anything. I was terrified. I try to tell guys, like, especially veterans or law enforcement officers, I'm like, do you remember how scary it was to say you wanted to be a cop or you wanted to be in the military? They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you remember what it felt like to go sign your fucking name on that contract? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's not easy to do. You said you were going to do
No
something and you went to go
way.
do it. And then you remember how you went to like boot camp or the academy and it was kind of like terrifying. They're like, yeah. I'm like, but you showed up and you did it and you overcame it. They're like, yeah. I'm like, what's the difference now? We've done, all of us, every person has done something hard in their life. They just haven't remembered and they're not giving themselves the credit. And so
No,
when you
of
can
course
remember,
not, dude.
yeah, which is crazy, dude, because there's so many people that are suffering. There's so many people that are fucking mentally poor. They're externally poor. Their beliefs are poor. Their views on themselves are poor. Their quality of life is poor. I'm like, why are you choosing to suffer, dude? Especially in America, bro. We might not have the best
Right.
external shit of us, like the TV world, but like, dude, this is a land of opportunity. You can do anything here,
There's so much opportunity here.
and so
It's
many
it's
people,
really
especially
unbelievable.
Americans. This is why immigrants come over here and crush it.
Yeah, we don't
Like,
have the fucking we don't have the want to do anymore as a
because
whole.
people are fucking victims. They're like,
Right.
oh, my doctor said this. I'm like, well, what do you think though? Did you go talk to another doctor?
Well,
Like, well, no, I've been
I
going to
mean,
this
but
doctor
how
for.
many ways are we looking for some authority figure to fucking categorize us?
People want a
Whether
daddy,
that's
dude.
what our job is, or I'm being told I'm ADHD, so I can't do these things. And so people that start identifying with that as the excuse of why they can't, instead of saying like, well, fuck, I better sort this problem out.
Yeah, people want a daddy because when you relinquish your power, it's easy to justify where you're at.
Right. Well, it's their fault I'm not doing well. When it's been
You
your
know,
fault the whole fucking time.
I work with people. They're like, I just feel like I'm just not being appreciated or valued in my work. I'm like, have you asked for a raise? They're like, well, no, I've only been there 4 months. Dude, I asked for 2 raises when I worked this job in LA, and I only worked
Mhm.
there for 4 months. I lasted there for 4 months. I asked for 2 raises while I was there because the things that they were asking me to do and the things that I was actually doing.
Yeah.
Why do people? But they put all these restrictions, and I got both of them. The answer is always no if you don't ask. I got
Yeah.
both those raises. And not because I was money hungry. I'm just like, no, dude, I know my value, and you guys are asking me to do a lot of sketch. It was a cannabis industry, so I'm like, you guys are asking me to do a lot of sketchy shit. This is a very dynamic, volatile environment. Like, I'm doing that person's job too. I'm gonna take some of that salary. Let's go.
Yeah.
And but like, dude, if you don't stand up for yourself, who's going to do it? Everybody's waiting for this grand savior to come save them. They're
Or
like,
that
oh, Cody,
moment that it's supposed to, like, well, I'll know when I'm supposed to. You won't.
yeah, I'm still
TikTok,
building it.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm still building it. I'm not like you. I don't have a large social media presence. Like, bitch, last year, dude, last year I had 3,000 people on my Instagram page.
Right.
3,000 people last year. Uh, I switched from my business account, which I was sharing my story. I built that up to like 60,000 followers. And then I had a backup page that had like 3,000 followers because I'm like, you know what? I feel ready to I feel like I need to start branding Cody Alford because there's more I want to do with my life and my name
Mm.
and my time here. 3,000 people. I have like 118,000 followers now. I didn't know that wasn't my thing. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I got out there and I was consistent, just sharing my story, providing value, and doing the things. And these people are like, well, I'm not where you're at. I'm like, bitch, because you haven't started. You'll never be where I'm at. One, because you're not me.
Right.
Two, you're not on the same fucking journey as me. And three, you don't even believe in yourself. That's why you'll never be anywhere until you decide to flip that narrative in your mind. But people are so
Yeah, it's
worried about,
crazy that people think self-belief is like a genetic trait, and not a choice.
dude, but that's why we have to be reminded. That's why I try to tell people, like, dude, you got to hang around the fucking people that are doing things, maybe not exactly what you want to do, but they're on that trajectory that you want to be on. They're all about
Mhm.
growing and leveling up. Like, dude, I don't have time for people that are like complaining about dumb shit in their life. I can't
No
be your
fucking
friend.
way. No, dude,
I
you
don't.
can't. You've got to be intentional with your time, right? And that's got to be where your boundaries lie. That I fuck with people who are doing shit.
Well, and dude, like, if I hang around you, it's going to rub on me in some way. I'm gonna buy into the like, you know what? It is late. I'm not gonna go work out. Or you know what? I'm gonna go do this dumbass shit. Like, no, I don't. I don't want to do that because I've done that before and I know where that takes me. I feel like
Yep.
shit and I hate myself. And then like, fuck. Now I got to do all these practices. I need to like get myself back on track, and that takes time. But most importantly, it hurts the people that I say I love.
Dude, I noticed, with the breathwork practice and journaling practice, when I first started doing it, you get this nice bump in how you feel and kind of get a vibe from it, right? And like you feel this growth. And then you get busy again and you move away from it. And then you're like, what's going on? Why are things slowing down? This progress I was making. And it's like, oh yeah, you're not doing those fucking things every day. It's like not doing the base warm up that you're supposed to do to keep your back warm, and you don't understand why it keeps fucking going out.
Dude,
I know that you follow, the physical side of things, too, that you find a big importance in being fucking strong and healthy and fit. And, for me, man, there's not a separation between mental and physical health. They are fucking hand in hand. Those are the same idea. One manages the other just as much as it does the other way around. And for me, being able to dive into the physical health really has always kept me safe, from training and being injured and realizing like, well, I can still do something. And if I can do something, then I've got to at least do that. If that's pedal the fucking assault bike for 5 minutes with my leg in a straight leg brace, then fucking so be it. But I
right?
got to choose more than not. How has that side still played into your life?
I used physical fitness as a coping mechanism when I was in the military. I told myself I was gonna be the biggest, strongest dude. I might have been the strongest, but I was definitely one of the biggest guys in my unit. I'm like, I was known for that big tattoo guy. I had the stature, had the tattoos, I had the persona, dude. And like, I told myself, my whole reasoning behind it was, I need to be this big because if I go into a room and I take a round, I want to be able to push the fight and not be this guy that just crumbles to the fucking deck and it causes a fucking pileup for my guys. I wanted to be able to fucking push the fight, take that round, and still fucking do what I got to do. And that was my mindset, straight up. When I got out, I was in so much pain. I also didn't have that why anymore to be
Right.
big and jacked. So I,
Yo,
I
man,
watched.
the training for the sake of training, like I'm not great at it.
Yeah, I'm like, so this why to keep me going to the gym, and I was just fucking big and strong and all these great things, and I was now injured and hurt and all these. I was falling apart. I didn't have a why anymore, so like working out was even more hard. I just beat myself up because I couldn't. I wasn't had no mind muscle connection anymore. I wasn't motivated. I was still stressed. My cortisol was all fucked up. So no matter really how well I ate, I was still I was getting pudgy now. I wasn't around like alpha males all the time. So like just my drive alone is different. And that was on my journey of like, I was a victim for a few years. I struggled to do fucking push-ups. And then it
Mm,
came down to me having to reestablish a why and why this is important to me. Why is fitness important to me? And funny thing about fitness, I had body dysmorphia for probably like 15 plus years. Even when I was super fucking jacked, even when I had a fucking 8 pack, like I was doing a bodybuilding show, I still had body dysmorphia. I was never good enough. Just these things in my head that I believed. And when I got like fucking out of shape, I like really started to dive deep into my head. I'm like, oh damn, I'm not good enough. And I started to believe the hype that I was feeding myself. And it wasn't until I realized, dude, I remember it was actually like 2 years ago, believe it or not, a little bit over 2 years ago. I had a mullet because my dream getting out of the Marine Corps, I don't grow a beard. Like it doesn't happen.
it just doesn't
Um,
work.
yeah, I was the only guy in my special operations team in Afghanistan with a clean face. And I was the guy in charge too, so it was really awkward talking to these like village elders who thought I was like the fucking chai boy. Um, but all I wanted was long hair, like it's just long Willie Nelson. I wanted pigtails, dude, and a bandana. That's all I
Yeah.
wore. And so I started to grow my hair out, and it got to the point in the van where it stopped growing on top. So I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'll cut into a mullet. And one day I'm like super fucking stoned. I'm kind of pudgy, like I have no really good body composition. And I like fucking just like smoked 2 joints that day, thinking I'm cool, right? Because I got the easy life. I have this apparel
Oh, you're
brand
in a
now. I'm
van,
just
got
like,
this
it's
sick
easy.
mullet, smoking some weed. Things are great.
Yeah, dude. And I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, this is not what the best version of myself looks like.
No.
And I took out my nose ring. And nothing against nose rings or piercing, but like I looked at myself, I'm like, this is not the fucking best version of myself. And I pulled out my shit, I fucking buzzed my head, and that's when I was getting ready to go to my very first mastermind. I'm like, dude, I ain't about to go to this mastermind around like fucking millionaires and look like I'm a fucking bag of dicks telling I want to impact the world and I believe in myself. No, dude, that how I looked did not believe in myself, and that wasn't impacting the world. And so I changed it all up, and that's really what started off for me. It was like realizing that this isn't who I'm meant to be. This is who I'm projecting. This is the pain. And
Mhm.
so fitness came to like, okay, bro. And then I got into jiu-jitsu and I realized, holy shit, I don't know anything. I'm not prepared. And it made me want to get better because my life is important to me. My goals and dreams are important to me. When I walk in, if I'm a fucking fat shithead, I'm not inspiring nobody, bro. No, that's a say as I do as I say, not as I do type of lifestyle. If I'm not,
Right.
my shoulders aren't down and back, and I don't walk with confidence and like fucking bass in my voice, dude. I ain't being my true best self because I know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm doing now at that point in time. I was just allowing it to happen. So fitness is important to me. Am I the best at it? No, dude. I just stay consistent at it. And each day I
Yeah,
find
man.
more belief. I find more things that are aligned to me, right? Not trying to do what you're doing and this person's doing and that person. I find what works for Cody because
Right.
I'm still on a
And
journey for
that's only
Cody.
That's Cody's only journey.
That's it, dude. I'm always trying to better myself. I'm always trying to find that true biohack for me, not to cut corners, but to not put all this fucking external pressure that doesn't mean shit to me. It ain't gonna make me a better person. It's just making me feel more inadequate. That's not the
Right.
life that I want to live. I want to uncover this. Like, dude, I'm fucking proud of myself, man. I'm fucking proud of myself, and that's what I'm like. It's what I'm after, and I personally feel I got a lot of room to go, but
You're
at
right.
least I know I'm on that track though, at least, which is great. So I have a chance to like actually like complete that race, because I'm there. I showed up.
Dude, I love it, man. And I had no doubt us getting into chat would vibe. I mean, we've been chatting back and forth, flirting online, basically trying to line up and hang out. I'm stoked for whenever we actually cross paths in person, man. I'm
Yeah,
really looking
absolutely.
forward to it. Um, dude, where can people find everything? Your mentorship group, everything.
So my mentorship group is called Defy Tribe, and that's at defytribe.com. My Instagram is the Cody Alford, and my apparel brand is called We Defy the Norm. It's been a message I've been sharing for shit, over 5 years now, and that's really what started everything for me. Um, just like Not Dead Yet, and in your previous predecessor name, like it's empowering to just have enough belief in yourself to share what you believe in, and most importantly, just like you just did that name change because you've grown and evolved, and
Right.
that alone is inspiring. you know uh that alone is, dude, I have your poster. I'm waiting for my this warehouse to be built, and I'm hanging your poster, You're Not Dead Yet poster in there. And then I bought that shirt because the shirt came with it. I'm just like, dude, I'm like just really stoked for them because I connect with it. I connect
Thank you,
with the
dude.
direction.
And I appreciate it. Right. Like, I think a lot of us out there, we're saying the same shit.
It's
And
yeah, but
that
it's just
message,
like
and that's
when you,
where the repetition of that message is going to hit people at home. And
yeah,
there's
dude,
got to be
especially
this other group of leaders that aren't at the top of their fucking game yet, that are on the come up like us, that are inspiring this new wave of people to make fucking moves like we did 5 years ago or we did 10 years ago.
and that aren't afraid to evolve. We defy the norm today isn't the same we defy the norm it was 5 years ago. Like the
Right.
the messaging the messaging has just it's the more you speak. I tell people I don't know what I want to do. Well, keep on speaking shit into the universe, and you're gonna get more fine tune, but you're never gonna get here if you don't start here ever.
Right.
And so, you know, but that growth, that evolution of self, that alone is inspiring, dude. Like that, you had to become someone different to pull the trigger. I know what it's like to rebrand. It's terrifying. I know what it's like to change your logo on your Instagram business page. It's terrifying. I know what it's like to pour your heart out through an email sequence. It's terrifying. I know what it's like to fucking invest your money that you're like, okay, let's see if this works. I know what it's like. It's terrifying. But at the same time, it's like, why else am I doing it?
Why else
What
am I
else is
doing
it
it?
for if it's not to fucking put it out there? That's the game of it all, right? Like, that's it's like let me see what this will do. Let me just see what can happen, but let me really just put into it, invest into it, and like fucking roll that dice, dude, because I'm rolling my dice every day. I tell people in my coaching group, like, you think you're gonna come home for dinner tonight, but that's not even guaranteed. We just like to
No,
think because it's been our constant for some time now. But the craziest things could happen in a moment's notice, and I don't need any more of my friends randomly fucking killing themselves or some other freak accident randomly happening for me to be reminded that holy fuck, life is short as shit. And with your message that I'm not dead yet. This is one of my shirts. It's called All In. It's like
yeah,
Grim Reaper, and on the back it's a Reaper with a coffin. Dude, you're all in whether you want to fucking acknowledge it or not, dude. You're already
yep,
dying. Now you can choose to be dead now and surrender and choose comfort as your savior, or you can defy that conformity and you can truly invest into yourself and defy the norm and go after those things that you say you want to go after in life and truly stand up for the things you say you actually believe. Because if you don't stand up for the shit you believe, you have a thought. If you don't action the things that you're feeling calling to, you have a fucking thought. And you know what? I've had a lot of thoughts before, and I've been around enough like very successful entrepreneurs, and they all say the same thing. He's like, people come up to me with thoughts all the time, bro. I want to see action,
I want to
and
see fucking
uh,
action.
I'm into action. I have on my board over here, and I just briefed it to my coaching group the other day. And action or action creates traction, right? Because people are like, well, how do I change my life? Just take action. Well, I can see how that could be motivating for a little bit, then it dies off. But act, action creates traction. How do you fucking walk? You put one foot in front of the other, and you repeat that sequence. And then you get momentum. Now you start running. And next thing you know, you're fucking at a destination you weren't even fucking prepared to be at, but you made it there.
Right.
And
That's been the fun part, right? It's like, I can't imagine where this goes.
yeah, I
I'm
told
done
this.
predicting at this point. It's already been too fucking weird that like I'm done trying to guess the next one. I'm just locking in on the intention.
I'm open for it. I'm open for it.
Yep.
I'm open for all the changes that are here. Um, because to assume anything else, dude, you're just be let down. And I know what happens when you fucking put all your ducks in one basket and say, hey, this is gonna be it. I'm gonna retire at 20 years. I'm gonna be able to go here and work for this eight. No, no, something crazy is gonna happen to your life. It's gonna make you fucking question, challenge everything. And I aim to not repeat that process again. So I'm
Well, look,
just
man, I
open.
think it's guys like myself or you, right, that were willing to hit the detonate button to maybe save people from having to do it as extreme as we did.
Right, and people don't see that the message, because I know you have a group too. The things that we're saying, it's like, dude, we're helping people compress time so they don't have to go through the same pains and burdens. Now they're still going to deal with pains and burdens, but they don't have to do all the self-destruction,
Yeah, maybe you don't need to
self-sabotage.
sell everything you fucking own to get there. I did,
Absolutely.
right? Like,
Yeah, I did too. But some people
Yep.
don't want to, they can't, or that's just not in their birth plan to do so. But we can help bridge that gap with them in a lot of other ways. And but that's the whole like coaching and mentorship world's weird enough, because now you're asking people, you want me to spend money on myself? Like, yeah,
yeah, it's
you'd be
crazy,
surprised
right?
what
God
can
forbid.
happen. God forbid you
God
invest into
forbid you
yourself.
fucking invest in yourself and have that first fucking moment, right? Where you've actually answered that call and said, this is worth it for me. Like that already is such a fucking game changer for people to be able to take that first step and say, I'm investing in me being better. And it may be the first time in their entire fucking life they've done it.
And the greatest thing about it, dude, but I get it. Before I ever joined a mentor coaching group, I'm like, man, screw this guy, screw this guy, screw this guy. You would pay
Yeah.
how much money, man? Screw this guy, screw this guy. And I'm like, you know what? Let me see. And the more you know, the more that's expected of you. Now I saw, I'm like, and that one investment, my very first group cost me $300 a month. That that investment transformed my absolute life. I heard the things I needed to hear when I needed to hear them. Because now I'm like, fuck, I'm in this thing. I'm open.
Yeah.
Now I'm listening. If I was just being victim, I'm doing something about it. And then I'm like, holy shit, it's a compounding interest. Okay, I am gonna go out for this speaking engagement. I am gonna ask for that close. I am gonna go fucking pitch my offer. I am gonna go start this one thing. It's just a chain reaction. But people are like, I'm not like you. It's not about the money to me. I'm like, shut up. You think no, money is a byproduct of my actions, of my impact.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't the income that I'm after. That's coming to me because I created a person who's abundant. Finally, after years of scarcity, I've created a person who's abundant to put out there and to serve and to impact. And everything else is a byproduct of that. And
Yeah. I think that's a fucking perfect way to fucking hang it, man. That's what we're here for, is create impact.
yeah,
Leave
dude.
ripples on the pond when I'm gone.
Yeah, dude. One of my original shirts from Redefine the Norm says "Ripples makes waves," dude. Like, we have no idea.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet you and I are both running the same company in slightly alternate timelines.
When I look at your shit, oh yeah, like I'm just like, dude, we are like the same thing. Like, you have some years on me in the entrepreneur world, and I'm like, dude, it's the same shit. But everything's the same in its own way, especially the ones that are united and joined. But you know what? It's just like, I was in
I
the
mean, it's
army,
not
I
any
was in the
different
Marines.
than the way I feel about, Rob with Flagner Fail. It's the same fucking message is not dead yet, right? Like, fuck you, I'm still in the fight.
Yeah. But the thing
It's the
is like,
same
that's his
message. And
vanity.
dude, being around guys like him that also didn't operate out of scarcity, that I wasn't seen as a competitor trying to fucking learn the intricacies of what was going on, that like, he was just rad.
That dude ain't like downplaying me. He's not like being triggered by me. If he knows me one day, he'll be cheering for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
because he knows that's the key to success. What is success? Success is fucking unlocking what you know is fucking capable of being unlocked. Success is fucking not giving up on yourself. Success is fucking bearing the fucking storm, not being
Mm-hmm.
waved by like the jaded souls out there that want to fucking bring you down. These crabs in the bucket that want to hold you back, whether that's your mind or your fucking circle. And But you know what? That's okay. I'm down for what I believe in, the circle that I try to associate myself with, and that I aspire to be like, and that motivates me and holds me accountable. Because that's all that matters. And I'm gonna grow more, and the more I grow, the more I'm able to share. The more I'm able to share, the more I'm able to impact, and then it just repeats this process. And then the people that I'm able to touch, guess what? They get to go out and do the same thing, and they get to go serve their people with their voice and their message,
Right.
their coat of arms, their banner. I mean, dude, we can all be knights on the battlefield, and I don't think people
That's
see that.
that's being the change you want to see, right?
Yeah, we can
Like
all be
taking
knights.
fucking action first,
We're all fighting the same thing. Average.
brother. Fighting fucking average. Fuck average, dude. What part of any part of my life makes you think that average is going to be an acceptable thing for me?
Yeah, I don't fucking
Yeah,
know.
I don't want fuck all that. Average in any fucking instance. Ugh.
I've tasted average before. Being hiding in my van, hiding with my potential. Never in the military, but when I lost it, when I became a victim, and I allowed myself to embrace that life, I was average. I had
Yeah.
average thoughts. I had average views and goals for myself. I wanted a simple life. The whole time it ate me up inside. That I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm here for more. I'm so
Dude,
much here.
I had it with the sports thing, right? This exceptional piece. And then the other parts of my identity would kind of just fall behind that thing. And I didn't, it wasn't until later on with my own awareness realizing that like, oh, I've let a bunch of those things be average. Like I've got to put the work there the same way the work went toward my business, the way it went toward my own awareness, my building myself up. Like it fucking get in there and start digging.
And that's the crazy thing is you're like, fuck, because you already got the blueprint. You already know what to
Yeah.
do. Now it takes time and consistency. But most importantly,
Yeah.
it takes action to get there. It takes action to start, and the consistency will get you there. You already know it.
Well, dude, let's figure out some time to hook up and I'll let you chat with my group. I'd love to jump on a call and chat with yours.
Absolutely. I was already thinking the
Vice
same
versa.
thing.
So,
Yeah,
dude, love you, man. And I can't wait to actually get to fucking hang out and have in real life friends with more rad people.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm glad we have internet now and we can do this.
Yeah.